following is a presentation of the iRacing eSports Network.
Until this point in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, if drivers made a mistake, they had an out in the phrase called a drop week. Now, as we enter the back end of the season here at Zandvoort, that no longer applies. You make a mistake and you really are going to pay the consequences in that chase for the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series crown of 2018. We've not been at this track for quite a number of years, so it's also my favorite one on the calendar. So welcome to the Netherlands and welcome to Zandvoort for the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series on RaceSport TV, streaming live on the iRacing eSports Network. Will Vincent along with Jake Sperry and Jonathan Simone. Let's have a look at the track temperature. It is overcast and it's cool. That means it's going to be hard to get the tyres up to operating temperature, and that's going to be important to note on what is a short track at only 2.6 miles in length. Qualifying is already underway. We've had a couple of drivers. They have set themselves their laps already. They are Mac Backham, Kevin Ellis Jr. and Michael Partington, although Josh Rogers will go to the top of the time stands for the time being. And now Peter Berryman, 111.805. He has provisional pole for the time being. But I'm going to bring you in first here, Johnny. We've talked about this all season long. When you get to Zandvoort, the mistakes, they've got to stop.
Certainly do. They cannot make mistakes at a circuit like this. There aren't many, or if any, tarmac runoff areas at all. But good to see Peter Berryman in that Apex Racing UK car up on provisional pole, 111.8. Now, don't forget, Will, he was on pole position last round. He's a very quick qualifier. He let a win slip away in the closing lap, so he's one step of the way there to another victory here this afternoon with a good provisional pole time.
Yep, Jamie Faluk about to cross the start-finish line in the Apex Racing UK machine. As he does so, he goes himself to the top of the timing stand for the time being, 111.764 for him. As we've got ourselves Mitchell de Jong and Martin Kroenke all on track right now. There is a look at the two-time series champion, Martin Kroenke. Worth noting, Jake, that Frank Shawhorse has actually done not a bad qualifying. We haven't seen Frank qualify well, I think, in quite a while now.
No, we haven't, and I think Frank Shawhorse knows that he's got to step up this one because there is a certain five-time world champion who is not here, so he'll be carrying the flag for Team Redline. So he is there in third position behind the two Apex machines, 2/10 off, at a circuit where, in very, very cool qualifying conditions, oversteer is going to be the big worry for a lot of drivers here today. They've got to make sure they are pinpoint accurate and they are applying that throttle as easy as they like. And I think it's very telling when you're about 6-7 minutes into qualifying already and you see that only one Coanda car has set a time. Both de Jong and Kroenke have been having multiple attempts to try and set up a lap because they've been struggling, Will.
Yeah, as we're on board with Martin Kroenke right now, that fast right-hand sweep, he just working himself through right now. This is to say, is I'd say alongside Monza, the shortest in terms of track length that these drivers go to. Of course, slightly different racetrack to Monza. It is more technical. You have got more complicated corners all the way through the lap. That middle section, you get it right, fantastic. You get it wrong, you can lose 2 seconds in a heartbeat. Kroenke now down into the Audi S, pushing a little bit wide, but able to keep it on the island for the time being. Just one more corner to go, realistically, for him here. That's Ireland corner. Gets a little bit of opposite lock as he heads himself towards the start-finish line. De Jong goes up into third place. Rogers' second lap will take it up into second. Marcus Jensen up into fifth place. And Martin Kroenke fourth only for the time being. I'll tell you one thing immediately, though, there, Johnny. If he hadn't had the opposite lock on the Ireland corner, he would have been on pole position.
Yeah, you're definitely right with that. He's definitely not the best lap we've seen from Martin Kroenke. He can set another one, though, later on in this session. Jamie Fluke, though, on pole. He's improving more and more as the season goes. And right now an 11.7, very quick time. So two things to point out as we progress through the session. I don't think the drivers are expecting the conditions to be this cold for qualifying, because a lot of them aren't used to them. It's very difficult to drive on. And with no Gregor Hutu this afternoon, if he doesn't show up for the race in half an hour's time, he'll actually won't be able to take this round as a drop round. He's currently second in the championship heading into Zandvoort.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we're going to talk about in our kind of pre-race coverage. The fact that Gregor Hutu is not looking as though he's going to be a part of this event. Well, that pretty much could put him out of the running for the championship, leaving it to be, realistically, a Kiwanis shootout. Peter Berryman does not go faster. There is Matt Backham. You see him on the exit of pit road right now. We've got Ricardo Orozco. He is on track right now. Drivers not to have actually set a qualifying time. They are Mogo Filo, Daniel Wensing, Isaac Price, David Williams, Tommy Erskard, David Accor, Stephen Michaels, Kazuki Omishima, and Dion Vergers. So basically, if you're a Radicals driver, Jake, for the most part, you haven't yet qualified. Except Wensing just has.
Yeah, Wensing just came across the line and he has moved himself with a 1:12.756 into around that top 10 area as Mogarfilio now comes across the line. Bottom of the timing stands, 1:13.582. And this is what we're starting to see. Drivers are struggling on these lap times. They need a bit of time to get these laps together and starting to bring them out. Marcus Jensen, for example, Burst Esports, currently in position at number 6, now winding himself up through the S's section here, looking to put the power on to get to Shivlak. This beautiful right-hander, always a difficult challenge at 230, back onto the power, and then the ever-decreasing radii of right-handers, and a little wiggle through the first one. On the brakes there after Marlboro, into Renault, and now looking for the Vodafone left-hander. And for Marcus Jensen, it's not neat, it's good, but it's not quite what he needs at the moment, and he needs 2/10.
He does. Josh Rogers is in second place in the Sister Burst Esports car and has done all of his laps. Here is Marcus Jensen, exit of Audi S. Gets a lot of oversteer on the exit of that corner. He's probably going to bring it to the line. He's looking for a 10.5 right now to get himself pole position. I think he lost it there on the exit of the Audi S past the start-finish line. You can see the frustration wiggle there from Marcus Jensen as he does not improve. Ilka Harpana is on a lap right now in 13th place. But I want to turn my attention actually, no, we're going to keep it with Ilka Harpana for the moment. Although Mitchell de Jong is on track, so we are going to go to him. One thing you can see, Johnny, is they're taking it so slowly, but then as you come down into Ireland corner, you've basically got to slam the throttle and hope it sticks now.
Yeah, but this hasn't worked out for a lot of drivers this season. This is a tactic we've seen throughout the 2018 campaign, and I don't think it works, but we'll find out now as de Jong heads into turn 1, looks for the brake markers, sweeps into the corner. You don't want to be touching that curb on the inside, and de Jong nails it perfectly through there. And now through this first sector, just so tight now through the left-hander of turn 3, up the hill. It's blind through here, but it's a full throttle section. Just trying to straight line this as much as possible. Look for all the grip. The camber makes this circuit so fun. And through the middle sector, de Jong looks like he's had a good lap so far. Maybe that tire-saving tactic works.
Sector 1, 25.007 for him. He'll get the Sector 2 beam in just a moment's time as he heads himself now, that left-hander down at Vodafone. Exits Vodafone. Now, that short straightaway. This is a passing zone into the Audi S. 25.233 for sector number 2. Audi S, good on the entry, good on the exit. Holds on the exit. Now, he's really got himself Chemo corner and then into Aaron Leyendyke. He's good through Chemo, through Aaron Leyendyke. He comes. Final corner, good, to the line. Can he go faster? Answer is yes. but it's not going to be pole position for him. He remains in P7. In fact, no, he moves up to P number 6. Now, it's all about Martin Kroenke, as Jamie Fluke is also on track. So it's going to be a showdown here between pole position for Jamie Fluke and Martin Kroenke. Here is Fluke. Crosses the start-finish line. He goes slower on his second lap, so not able to improve at all. Now, it's all about the driver of Martin Kroenke setting himself up for a lap. So just take that graphic away for a second. Now he's on to that final lap that he will do in qualifying. Tarzan corner looks good for him. Let's ride on board then with Martin Kroenke during this lap. Give you some Racesport TV fan immersion. Martin Kroenke is faster than his teammate Mitchell de Jong in both sector number 1 and in sector number 2. Now, 2 more corners for Martin Kroenke to go. His time to be a 1:11.764. Out of our Landite corner towards the start-finish line. What's it going to be for Martin Kroenke? It's pole position by 0.2 of a second. Bish, bash, bosh, done. He's got himself pole when he needed to, just like Martin Kroenke quite often does. And well, Jake, he left it late. Only 30 seconds remaining in qualifying, but he's got himself what he wants.
Wow. I'm speechless. When you look at champions and you look at what champions can do, they pull out the result when it matters. There was not one single Coanda car inside of that top 3. Martin Kroenke had to step up to the plate, and he knew that he had to step up to the plate, and he delivered. He delivered better than the postman does on a Monday morning. He's done so well with that, and Martin Kroenke in that number 5 with a 1:11.5 has now got himself absolutely home free, the massive advantage at a circuit which is so difficult to overtake at.
Qualifying is over. David Williams not able to get his final lap in. So that's it. We are done. And well, for 14 minutes and about 25 seconds of this session, Johnny, it looked as though the Apex Racing UK were going to have pole. That has shifted. And on what is going to be a very interesting day for the championship, this is Martin Kroenke. He's done this the last, I think, 4 seasons. He's been probably arguably the best driver closing out a campaign. Better than Gregor Hutu, better than Hugo Louise, better than any other driver, and he's doing it again.
He almost has no weakness. You know, normally in sports, you try to scout someone and you try to say, oh, we're going to limit them to this and try and make them lose the race doing this instead. But he's a quick qualifier, quick racer, good overtaker, mentally strong, smart. He's got the whole package, and we see it again in qualifying. Not only does he snatch pole, but if you're not demoralized, you don't care. Those guys in the Apex cars of Jamie Fluke and Peter Berryman, the young gun of Josh Rogers, just you put in all that work and all that effort to qualify in 2nd and 4th, and you can't grab a win. I'm telling you, those guys are working their butts off, and they just cannot knock this guy off the top step of the qualifying podium. Who knows what will go on during the race? We're going to talk about all of that in our pre-race coverage, I'm sure, Will, because this race, by the way, I'm telling you, with Kroenke on pole, it's not over from here.
It's not. I will say one thing very quickly. I'm going to give you a statistic, and I know you both like that. In terms of the World Championship Grand Prix Series, ever since Coanda started, in the last third of a season, Martin Kroenke's always been the best driver. It's one of these things we often talk about, how teams sometimes have tough starts and then peak at the end. Well, he's normally been pretty good all the way through, but ever since Coanda started, let's not forget, it was around this time of the year, a few years ago, that Coanda started. Of course, before that, they were 3D Gaming. Ever since then, Kroenke's always been good in the back part of the season. Let's have a look at your qualifying results. So it's Coanda It's Martin Kroenke. It's the 5 car, 111.511 for Martin Kroenke, with Jamie Fluke second place at Apex Racing UK. Third place will go to Burst Esports, Joshua Rogers. Fourth place to Peter Berriman and Apex Racing UK. And then you got Team Redline, the only Team Redline driver of the day, Prix Shawhorse, in P number 5. Mitchell de Jong for Koana Sim Sports in 6th place. He is almost 4 tenths to a second behind his teammate Marcus Jensen in 7th place, Mike Backham in 8th, Stephen Michaels in 9th, and Kazuki Umeshima rounds out your top 10. Go back a little bit, you'll notice that David Accor is in 11th position with Ilka Harpala in 12th. The three Orion race team drivers, get this, separated by 4/100ths of a second on track from David Accor, Ilka Harpala, and then Yao Vaz in 13th place. You got Pash Gergis in 14th and Tommy Erskine in 15th. Kevin Ellis Jr., not a good showing for him here today in the Apex Racing UK car. He can only manage P number 16. Batis Remniak, Vortex Sim Racing in P number 17, with the 4th Orion race team driver almost half a second slower than all of his teammates. That is Dion Vergers. Isaac Price in 19th place for SA Racing, G2 Logitech G, and then Koana Sim Sports' David Williams rounds out your top 20. Finally, we have a look at the last 6 drivers, and it's a horrible, horrible story if you're Positive Sim Racing or Radicals Online. Radicals Online, 4 drivers inside the last 6 positions here today. They will certainly not be happy with this one. Daniel Wensing in 21st, you've got Mo Garfilo 23rd, Paul Ilbrink and Michael Partington, row number 13, bringing up the rear here today. We mentioned it already, some teams might have been caught out by the tough qualifying conditions, but we still got a race to go here on RaceSpot TV and on the iRacing eSports Network. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back with more after this.
So, you want to race in NASCAR. The road starts here. Introducing the eNASCAR Ignite Series powered by iRacing. This is the gateway for all aspiring 13 to 16-year-olds. Starting June 20th, ignite your dreams of one day racing in the top tiers of NASCAR. Go to www.iracing.com/ignite for full details.
So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up.
4 more kilometers.
Oh, there we go! They touched!
This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to ride.
Kroenke! Down to the inside of Hoosie's off!
Passenger throws the block, and he will keep him behind him.
My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Turning the track up, I'll never go back down. Hand over my heart, I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop.
Welcome back to RaceSpot TV and the iRacing eSports Network. Well, this is a look at the championship standings heading in to this event, and this does not include the drop week, though. Mitchell de Jong, 594 points. Gregor Houtu, 554. Martin Kroenke, third, 547. Mac Backham 4th at 484. Kevin Ellis Jr. at 440. Jake, 2-horse race now for the championship. Agree?
For now. For now, because we've seen how drivers have thrown massive amounts of points away in the opening 8 rounds of the championship. And honestly, I see that continuing. No driver has been able to assert his dominance on this series. No driver has been able to go back-to-back in terms of race victories so far this season. And as things stand, Mitchell de Jong has to come back from even further than he did at Imola, where he qualified 5th, to go and win this race if he wants to go back-to-back. No driver can seemingly put 2 great rounds together. That's why I say Hutu's still in this championship, despite the fact he's not here.
Okay, Johnny, I'm going to split this into 3 different groups. The top 3, I'm going to draw a line right there. As you can see, I'm not very good at drawing lines on the screen. But de Jong, Hutu, and Kroenke, they are the main people that's got a chance of winning the championship. Right? Agree. You can agree with that one?
Not Mac Backham?
Then you got your second group. That is going to be Mac Backham, Kevin Ellis Jr., Peter Berryman. They are the people that, if something happened to de Jong, Hutu, and Kroenke on a regular basis, could swoop in. I think at the moment, Backham's too far back. You got to put him into the second group. Because simply put, I don't think even if he was to, get podiums every round of the championship remaining, I still think that there's enough of a buffer now for de Jong, Hutu, or Kroenke to kind of make sure that they can keep themselves that victory, or that championship victory.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying there. Like, Backham, he's got 2 race wins this season, and that's actually 1 more than Gregor Hutu. But he's a bit streaky at times, and I think even he said this the other day. I can't remember if it was him or somebody else, but he needs to improve his qualifying performances, because that's not helping his race results. So he's lacking some sort of 1-lap, low-fuel speed at the moment, which he needs to find. But those drivers of Kevin Ellis Jr., Peter Berryman, Josh Rogers is way far off. He's another 70 points behind Berryman. Yeah, there is a second tier there, but I do think then maybe you're right. It is between that top 3 of the 3 you mentioned.
And then you've got this 4 here of Rogers, Fluke, Jensen, and Heglin. Now, I know that the Burst eSport fans, Johnny, are not going to like this, but Rogers is too far back. It would take a miracle for him to win a championship from here on in. I think Rogers, at this point, the best he's looking for is maybe trying to get a top 5. I don't think anything else in the championship is going to be easy for him. He might be able to snatch 4th, but definitely not top 3 in the championship.
Yeah, top 5 is definitely possible, but top 4 is almost not out of reach. I mean, it's still a long season. There's 6 rounds to go, including today, but 100 points for a race win. And even if you have a bad round and you end up finishing, I mean, there's 26 cars showing up today. If you finish 26, you still score 10 points. We don't have the 40 cars that we should be having. Not everybody's attended the race. So to make up that 100-point deficit or whatever he's got on 5th position, Kevin Ellis Jr. is going to be too much to handle for Josh Rogers. Very quick driver, though.
Yeah. And here's a look at the rounds remaining in the championship. Zandvoort today. Then we've got ourselves Indianapolis. That'll be in August. So we've got ourselves a summer break after this one. Then Suzuka, Nürburgring, Spa, and Circuit of the Americas to close things off. And I will say one thing, Jake. These tracks, I think all of them, everyone can agree, are tracks that have variety. They are complicated tracks. I mean, yeah, Indianapolis, it seems a bit like a Mickey Mouse track, but actually, when you consider the setup variables, you consider the way you got fighting towards turn number 1, I think that if you can basically ace these 6 tracks, then you deserve to be doing well in the championship.
Yeah, and I think that it comes back to what iRacing needs to be looking at in terms of their track composition and makeup for the series as well, because what Indianapolis has, which a lot of circuits don't have, is a fantastic run to the opening corner and an opening section of lap where you can really go and attack, and that was showcased by Mac Backham last year. It's why I'm such a massive advocate for a circuit like Barcelona to come onto the iRacing calendar and get onto the iRacing service. It's huge because it offers a great opportunity of battling in the opening sector, which is what draws people in to watch these sorts of races. I want to see a great race. I think Zandvoort has a great opportunity to put a great battle in, but of course we know how this is basically iRacing's version of Monaco at this stage. So tight, so narrow, no mistakes, or we could very, very quickly see a track blockage.
Yes and no. I mean, yes, you can see a track blockage. I would say, though, in comparison to Monaco, there are two places here, Johnny, that you can easily overtake at. First one is right there, Tarzan Corner. And then you've also got one into the Audi S right there. There are two big overtaking opportunities here. And I mean, Tarzan, one of the beautiful things about it is it is banked. So you have the opportunity to really run the inside or outside into that corner. And of course, then if you stay side by side, you've then got turn 4 as your pinch point.
Can I just say, though, none of those are really actually good overtaking spots. They're good for this circuit. It's so difficult, though. You know, you run out of the left-hander at turn 9, you head into the Audi S in the braking zone at turn 10. I think this race today is almost... I mean, we're not going to sugarcoat things. It's not going to be easy to overtake. So drivers before the race have been discussing strategy. Very short pit lane today. But the reason why drivers are going to choose to one-stop is because of the overtaking issue. So you could see tires at... stretch their limit here today. Who knows what's going to go on? Will a driver try to stretch his stint and the tires are off the cliff? Will that cause some chaotic, trains and chaos down the back end of the order? It could actually be an interesting race coming up here for these next 70 so laps, because we haven't been in a racetrack like this where it's been so difficult to overtake, and drivers are trying to stretch a two-stop strategy to a one-stop.
Since VAR, I believe. Couple of years.
Yeah, that was one.
Yeah. VIR. I want to give a quick shout out, of course, to Andy One and One Design for our overlay and our development by Simon Grossman, aptengineering.com. Nick Thissom, Racesport TV, live timing and scoring, and of course, TV cameras by Iswan Balal, trackcams22.com. That is it then for our pre-race coverage. We've got more to talk about. But first, we got to get ourselves ready for the race. That'll be here live on Racesport TV and on the iRacing eSports Network. Next.
What are you afraid of? Those feelings are made up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up.
4 more kilometers.
There we go! This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to ride.
Frankie! Down to the inside of Hoosie's off!
Passenger throws the block, and he will keep him behind him.
My time. None of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time. None of you people can tell me to stop. Turning the track up, I'll never go back down. Hand over my heart, I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time. None of you people can tell me to stop.
So, you want to race in NASCAR. The road starts here. Introducing the eNASCAR Ignite Series powered by iRacing. This is the gateway for all aspiring 13 to 16-year-olds. Starting June 20th, ignite your dreams of one day racing in the top tiers of NASCAR. Go to www.iracing.com/ignite for full details.
Well, this one could be fun. It's Zandvoort. It's the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, and it is a track that is tight, it is technical, but can still produce some thrilling racing. Welcome to the Netherlands. Welcome to the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series here on RaceSport TV, streaming live on the iRacing eSports Network with Will Vincent, Jonathan Simone, and Jake Sperry. In terms of the track conditions, qualifying, it was miserable. It's a little bit better. It's 72 degrees Fahrenheit. It's high humidity, partially cloudy skies, but oh my word, is it a windy one here today. Going to be racing for 71 laps, or about 305 kilometers. This track debuted in the first ever season of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, but there's one driver who was there back in 2010 who's not here today. That is Gregor Hutu. Johnny, in terms of his championship, it's a dent. It's not quite a final blow.
Certainly isn't. He finished second here last time Zandvoort was in the World Championship back in 2014, so didn't get the race win that time out. But hey, I'll tell you what, though, he's not here today, and who knows how this race would have gone for him. He hasn't attended the race, and this will be a big blow to his championship. I really wanted him to grab number 6, but hey, I'll tell you what, it's not over from here on in. Who knows what happens over the next 5 rounds. He could still fight back, but for now we focus on those Coanda Simsport drivers of Kroenke and de Jong, the 2 championship chargers in the top 3. They have some young guns coming to chase them here today for the race. Jamie Fluke is one of them. Josh Rogers, another of course as well. And don't forget last round's pole sitter in Peter Berryman in that number 69 Apex Racing UK car. Interesting race coming up. We're expecting 1 or 2 stops, most likely a 1 stop, but for someone brave enough, for someone who's has the ability to pull off any overtakes, they'll be electing for that 2-stop strategy.
Yeah, of course. We've also got another big event here going on iRacing, that is the 24 Hours of Spa. Let's quickly check in with Connery Maddock, Jack Stiles, and Alvin Nieves.
Getting to the end of that first stint, it's always an achievement, which for some drivers is actually one of the things. Maybe some of these obviously top split, these drivers would have done a lot of practice, a lot of them actually coming over from the Pro Series, so a lot of that practice can then be put into effect in this event. And actually for some of the teams, it's just a case of, well, stick the same setup on that we had last weekend and out we go. It's just 4 times the length, and I think that's for some of the teams what they may have done. For Pure Racing Team, clearly that strategy must have worked. They're currently 1 and 2 and have got a nice 4-second advantage over Alexander Voss and team number 33 in that number 1 Audi. Tia Martinez falls behind. As you said earlier, race pace hasn't been there. Maybe it will come back later. Maybe they're going for a slightly more reserved strategy. Who knows? It's a
Well, that was the 24 Hours of Spa, of course. RaceSport TV, we're doing 18 hours of coverage. Our friends over at V8 Online will be providing coverage through the night. And Jake, well, you get to spend your morning with breakfast with Will and Co, as it's called.
I will be spending my breakfast with Will and Co. Not the first time this year I've spent my breakfast with Will and Co, but I'll certainly be spending a couple more breakfasts with Will and Co a little bit later on in the future. But Will, I have to be honest here. I am excited for this one. I haven't seen Freek Schothorst up this high for a very long time. I want to see him do well. Jamie Fluke is now starting to find the pace that makes him a legitimate challenger at the front of the field. Josh Rogers again with another very consistent qualifying and a circuit that is very, very unpredictable. I am pumped.
Yeah, let's have a look, if we can, at your starting grid for... Nope, we can't do that, unfortunately. So what we'll do is we're just going to keep it as it is for the time being. But Martin Kroenke on pole position here today. Well, Jake, question. Now he's got pole position on the track that's hard to overtake at. He's got two options. Go as fast as he can and two-stop it, or hope that everyone else is one-stopping and just play with the field.
He'll do what the rest of the field would do, and he'll go for the most optimal time. That much is a guarantee. When you're at the front of the field, you've got all the cards in your hand, so you know that you have the ability to go out there and do whatever it is you want. It's up to everyone else behind to go and make that game changer. But what I will say is that on 3 occasions this year, Martin Kroenke has thrown away a race victory. I don't want to see that happen again, and he's got half a minute before he decides his fate.
Well, okay, give me a race winner. First of all, you, Jake.
Jamie Fluke.
Johnny.
You're going to call me boring, aren't you, when I say this?
Martin
Should I
Kroenke.
say it? Yes, he's going to win it.
Okay. Well, apologies to the other 24 drivers that we didn't get a bit more diverse in that one. But practice is about to end. We've got ourselves now less than 10 seconds. And then we'll head ourselves down to the starting grid for this round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Checkered flag is now out. And that means the next thing drivers do is grid. While, of course, in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, it always comes to a part of the year where the pressure just builds up a little bit more. That is now the case here at Zandvoort. For the rest of the season that's been, you had the chance to use a drop week. If you had a bad race, well, there's a chance that you could scrub it, not entirely, but scrub it partially at least, from the record books. Well, that isn't the case anymore. And the mistake you make is going to be amplified in terms of the championship and everything else surrounding it. So from here on in, you're going to probably see drivers being a little bit more aggressive on one side, but a little bit more conservative on others. The drivers being conservative, well, they're likely to be the likes of Koana Simsports' Martin Kroenke and Mitchell de Jong. De Jong, in particular, starting P number 6 here today. He cannot afford to have himself out down at turn number 1 because it will change the face of this championship quite dramatically. The lights are on top of the gantry. We are ready to go racing here at Zandvoort. The lights go on. The lights will go out, and here we are then, racing once again at Zandvoort in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Fantastic start there by Martin Kroenke, but behind, that was a really good start by Josh Rogers in 3rd place. We're on board with him right now as they run down towards turn number 4 for the first time. All drivers get themselves through the first couple of corners. There's a little bit of two-wide racing going on down at the rear, but one thing for certain, Martin Kroenke had a fantastic start. Mitchell de Jong, championship leader, is up 1 place right now, putting the pressure on towards Freek Schothorst, but in turn, not Freek Schothorst, Peter Berriman even, but in turn, you got yourself 5 drivers out front. The question's going to be, who is going to break away the quickest? Well, I'll say one thing there, Jake. Not a lot happened as I say that. Ricardo Orozco locked up then into turn number 7. What's going on?
A shot around, and that's a big one there. It was a dive down the inside by a Koana machine. That was Matt Backham, Dutchman on Dutchman. And well, the 2 hometown boys ended up coming together. I thought that was a little optimistic there by Matt Backham. He drops a position as well to Marcus Jensen. We also saw in the opening lap an incident between Wensing and Remenick. So already a couple of incidents happening there, and Schothorst will not be happy, and neither neither will Dom Duhan.
Oh, yeah, you can see that man for Matt Backham, of course. Backham has had incidents with Team Redline. Kawanda has had so many incidents with Team Redline this season. And we talk about the fact that, you know, these two teams, they get on professionally. But this season, Johnny, I think has been the most that Kawanda and Redline have come together at any point in the World Championship Series history.
Yeah, ironically, yeah, they have. But Mac left him room. I think Mac was all legal there. He went up the inside, and Freak, it was so tight between the two of them. There was just a slight bit of contact. There was nothing really that any driver did wrong. Freak just tried to squeeze Mac down the inside as well and tried to make the move difficult. And I think the contact was so minuscule. I really feel bad for Freak Shotor. So the contact was literally like a feather, and it sent him all off the racetrack and spun around. So, I mean, that shouldn't have been race ending. Something went wrong there. Regardless, he's going to be surely disappointed with that. And one of the only Redline cars out there today, the only, not the best start to their race so far. And I have to say, it was rightly so that every driver was aggressive in those opening laps, because it's going to be incredibly difficult to make a move over these next 15-20 laps.
Well, one thing I was going to say here, Jake, is if we're going to be really, as David Williams had himself an issue, he's falling down the timing and scoring fields quite dramatically. He's now down into 23rd place. That is the last of the drivers who was classified on the lead lap. But, Jake, I was going to say, in terms of Redline, they only had one car on the field here today. That car out by the end of lap number 1. Is that it now for Redline this series?
No, because Greg is still in a title fight, but I don't know where Redline will really go. They've got enough members to cover all bases. I don't think it's going to be a case of we're seeing everyone run off everywhere else. I will say, though, cracking little scrap going on right now is Kazuki Umeshima, who's up 2 positions, now looks to chase down Mac Backham. And Mac Backham, just looking at his machine, does have a little bit of a torn up front nose, so certainly feeling a bit of aero effects, especially around a circuit where it's very, very aero dependent. I think Kazuki Umeshima smells blood and he wants 7th.
Yeah, you can just see it on the very front part of the car. I mean, right about there, that is where it's supposed to be nice and level. It's not the case in the circumstance for the driver of Mac Backham. So he's in P number 7 right now. He's got himself Kazuki Umeshima behind. Ilka Harpera in 9th and David Acor rounding out your top 10. Live timing and scoring is available. Visit raceword.tv/timing for that one. As well, Peter Berryman right now is behind Josh Rogers, but nothing really happening there. We have got Kevin Ellis Jr. though versus Pas Gergis. This will be an interesting one because Kevin Ellis Jr., of course, high up in the championship, but low qualifying here today, Johnny. He really needs to get an early move on.
They both had good starts, Gergis and Ellis Jr. So both of them now heading through the long right-hander of turn 6. So this circuit just doesn't quit, does it? every corner's a workhorse. Come through this another medium speed right-hander again. You know, the thing about the circuit is Jake spoke about downforce, very important. What's underestimated is in a Formula 1 car, all low-speed corners are reliant on your rebound damping and your soft damping, your weight distribution. All the medium-speed corners are on the anti-roll bar. So as much as aero is critical at Zandvoort here, the anti-roll bar is as important, and that's a very good critical setup aspect to get right in this car.
Yeah, indeed. So as the gap remains at 3 tenths per second on board, of course, DRS is now enabled. We're on board then with Kevin Ellis Jr. up to 200 miles an hour, only just hitting 200 miles an hour in towards turn number 1 that time by. Behind, not many battles going on. Tommy Erskard, Stephen Michaels is going on. Drivers out this event so far, they are Ballas Remniak, Daniel Ernst-Wernsing and Freek Shorthorse. All involved in incidents on lap number 1. Josh Rogers, though, versus Jamie Fluke. This is Burst Esports. Again here, Jake. They need to try and see what they can do over a full race distance because they've been good in qualifying. But as I said a couple of races ago, they are suffering from the same issues that Apex Racing UK had about 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, you're starting to see that from Burst Esports. They found the pace, now they've just got to find a consistency, and it did take a couple of years for Apex to go and find that, but Josh Rogers is still in a really good position. He's tucked up in the DRS with Jamie Fluke, who's almost about to fall behind 1 second now to Martin Kroenke. That's just precedent of his pace and how he just wants to break away. I think this is still a good opportunity right now. It's a 71-lap race. It's a long race in terms of laps. So Rogers has a lot of time to go and make sure that he's got time to settle in. He's only half a second back. He's got that time to work in with a little slightly missed apex there through Tarzan, which he can recover back from Jamie Fluke. I think Rogers knows it's only time before he starts applying that mental pressure and testing the resiliency of Fluke.
I want to put a circle here, Jake, on the driver in the number 69 car, of Peter Berryman, because I've got a feeling he's not going to be talked about too much here today. But he's a driver that he knows that Rogers has had incidents this season. Kroenke has had incidents this season. Fluke has had incidents this season. And yes, Berryman himself has not been perfect this season, but Berryman's thinking, wait a minute, if I try and just keep my car clean and stay in the window, if any of these guys have an incident, I've got a podium.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the right mentality to have. He knows that he's got a podium opportunity, so he might as well just sit and wait, maybe try something with the strategy to unlock himself the potential to make the moves. He was fantastically close through the Audi S, but unable to really put that power down to attack Rogers into Kumo box. But you're always trying to set this run up through the final corner and then looking towards Tarzan turn number 1 to make that opportunity happen. And for Berryman, he knows that Jamie Fluke is acting a little bit of a hindrance at the moment, despite this pair being teammates, because it gives Josh Rogers the draft and an opportunity to go attack once more. So everyone looking for moves, everyone looking for opportunities. Here's Kevin Ellis Jr. having a half look then on a certain Mr. Jurgis. Jurgis going defensive into the opening corner. Good run there from Kevin Ellis Jr. And he's not quite got the run heading into Gerlach at 2.
No, but meanwhile, Johnny, it's worth noting that last time by, Jamie Fluke lost time to Martin Kroenke, but gained time to Martin Kroenke, but is losing time this lap. Meanwhile, Pash Gergis in that core sim racing car under immense pressure from Kevin Ellis Jr., who's running in 12th place. And Ellis Jr., we talk about, do you be aggressive or do you be conservative? Ellis Jr. has got to be aggressive in the last part of the season.
Yeah, it depends on his strategy too. If he pits around lap 20, you'll know he'll be on that 2 stops, but he needs to finish high up in the championship. He don't want no credits for prize money. He wants actual cash, and that's what he's going to fight for here. DRS enabled, heading into the Audi S. I told you, as this is one of the best overtaking spots at this circuit, and it's almost one of the worst at any other circuit on the calendar. It's so hard to overtake heading into turn 10 and 11 there. Through the final couple of corners here, Ellis Jr. has a good opportunity here, Will, on the main straight.
He does. Of course, that DRS train will remain. And that's the thing. Early on in this event, it can be a little bit more complicated to overtake. As you see, Ellis Jr. taking the wider line into Tarzan corner to try and get the better exit then in towards turn number 2, turn number 3 into turn number 4 on track. And well, the thing about this track is that it's a fun track to drive. In fact, it's a really technical track to drive. And if you can master this track, I argue you can race pretty much anywhere, but when you put 26 race cars on this track, all with similar skills, it takes, as you said earlier on, Johnny, about 20 laps for the field to spread out enough that you have the opportunity to then actually make one-on-one passes.
Yeah, well, that's it. And also for the field to spread out to find the gaps when you pit. Yeah. There's so much that can go on later on in this event. By the way, back to the top 4 battle. Jamie Fluke now out of DRS zone of Martin Kroenke. Can I just point out that Jamie Fluke looks like he's on rails? He looks so quick. I've never seen him drive this well. And we're also forgetting the fact that he's currently in a 2nd position. I mean, for Rogers and Berryman, this is almost normal now. But for Jamie Fluke, he's taken a step up today. 1 second. He's now 0.9 of a second across the start-finish line away from a 2-time world champion. Incredible driving from Jamie Fluke so far. He works in software engineering and IT. I might have got the software engineering part wrong, actually, there. And he continues away here through the first sector. A man who is passionate about sim racing, who's a great dude off the track, now trying to fight for his first race win.
Having a look at that battle then, Peter Berryman, Josh Rogers, 3rd place, 4th place, but going to go to Martin Kroenke because we say that Fluke is out of DRS range, Jake, and it's only by a 10th right now, and it keeps on flittering down to 1.0, then up to 1.1, then back down to 1.0. Fluke right now is really driving hard just to remain within that 1 second window. I worry, however, that as he does so, he might be putting a lot of pressure onto these tyres. And let's not forget, qualifying was overcast. They had to get the heat in the tyres in order to make them work. Now it's windy and the skies have parted a little bit. That means that these tyres will heat up more quickly on this racetrack outside of their operating window to the point they're going to fall off.
Well, they're going to be worn out a little bit faster, and that's no surprise then for Jamie Fluke, and he knows he's got to stay within a second of Martin Kroenke, and on that lap, that gap looks to extend to now 1.3 seconds there or thereabouts. That's just the watershed moment. I think Martin Kroenke can officially say he's broken now. He's got the gap that he wants, but he can't afford mistakes, and of course Martin Kroenke, ever the driver who makes the least mistakes, always up there, the man with the least incidents in a series. I think he averaged less than one incident a race in 2016. Such was how good he was at keeping a vehicle on the island. Jamie Fluke's got his work cut out right now, because the moment it goes away from attacking, there's Josh Rogers. He's got DRS, and he'll soon think about defending.
Yeah, earlier on we talked about Kazuki Umeshima versus Matt Backham. This is currently going on for P number 7 on track, as Matt Backham, last couple of laps have been comparable enough to Kazuki Umeshima. Umishima's not found a way to get past, although he has gained in net average over the last 3 laps of 0.2 of a second. The issue is, Johnny, he still, I say that, actually did gain quite a bit then through that DRS into the LDS, but he's still half a second back.
The fascinating thing I find in general about Umeshima is, as he now gets closer and closer through the final couple of corners, he's only 23 years of age. And remember, he almost won his first race wheel at 19 years of age. He's still a young prospect. And this guy can get quicker and quicker over time. Then I was going to say, he had a peak there, didn't he, from 300,000 meters back. And I'm like, don't go for it, Kazuki. But only he's the perfect man to pull off overtakes here today. And he's just incredibly quick out there. I like it. Alice Jr., by the way, just heard news from our insider, Jake Sperry, that he has passed Paschalis Churgis.
Yeah, he has. So let's get ourselves a replay of that one then. And this is Kevin Alice Jr. versus Pash. Here we are. Here's a replay. He's going to do it on the exit of Arrowline corner. Of course, famous IndyCar driver, Indy 500 champion in 1996. And then Kevin Ellis Jr. just made the move, dive down to the inside into Tarzan corner. That was an easy one there, Jake.
Yeah, that was about as easy as you're ever going to get it here at Zandvoort. Just pick the run up out the penultimate 2 corners and get that charge to the bank turn number 1. I think that's what every driver's looking at here and trying to make happen. Now up for Kevin Ellis Jr. is Davy DeCorps, and DeCorps, probably with new reinvigorated life at the moment, has really been excited about getting back into this MP4-30, finding the pace that he found in events such as World's Fastest Gamer. I think that Davy DeCorps knows that he wants to be up there at the front, has the ability to be up there at the front, but just hasn't quite been able to show that one ruthless little bit that he has, as Kevin Ellis Jr. takes a massive wide line through Tarzan.
Johnny, you've got a bit of a comment there about Gervis's move.
Oh, yeah, I was saying, I don't know why he wasn't more aggressively defensive, if that makes sense. I mean, if you defend the inside at turn 1, and then obviously you're going to be slow out of the exit of turn number 1 all the way to turns 2 and 3, those tight S section, but you can still defend the corner through those next those stages of the lap. I mean, it bottlenecks into those corners and you'll be fine. So Georgia said lost the position. The only other way I can think is either he had a brain lapse and he didn't think properly, or he's just sick of pushing right now to stay in front of Kevin Ellis Jr. and he just wants to conserve these tires just for a little moment.
Next victim for Ellis Jr. is going to be David Accord and the Orion Race Team 07 machine. We talked about World's Fastest Gamer. Of course, we've got McLaren continuing to push in terms of eSports with their new Shadow project. We're going to have 2 series here on iRacing, the iRacing eSports Network, and on RaceSpot TV. That will be in terms of this car, the MP4-30, and also the GT car, the MP4-12C. 2 series, and we're going to be broadcasting races for you each Sunday night for those. More info to come soon on iRacing and on RaceSpot.tv. Let's actually talk about the Orion Race Team for a moment, because they managed to get themselves into the top 10 right now. Ilka Happala runs himself in 9th place, and David Accord running themselves in the 10th position. And, well, Jake, one thing that fascinated me is how close those 3 drivers were in terms of qualifying this race. They were separated by less than half of a tenth of a second.
Well, that just shows you that consistency is certainly key, and when you get a good setup and it works for all the drivers, when they are so close, it shows that A, they are all equally as good a talent as each other, and B, it shows that the team has itself some very good collective pace. So they'll be looking to use that consistency to get some results, and if a driver drops out here and there due to a crash or he's had himself a technical issue, it puts themselves still in a situation where they're still going to get some great results. If it's not Harpler, it's De Corps. If it's not De Corps, it's Yao Vaz. That's the sort of consistency you're looking for in a series like this, and that's what Orion, time in and time out, have done again and again and again to get themselves right up there. Not necessarily known, but certainly right up there now as Jurgis defends from Stephen Michaels on the outside into turn number 1, and that's just checking up, allowing Yao Vaz in.
Yeah, as Michael's not able to get past. As... Pardon?
Sorry, Will, I was saying, you see? He defended and he was able to stay in front this time. He should have done that against Ellis Jr.
He was. I was also going to say, this is an interesting fact. The Orion Race team are the only team, Johnny, to have had drivers run at every single... to have drivers who have run at every single Zandvoort race in the World Championship Series history.
Now, you've officially taken the useless stat remark from me, Will, for the first time. Come on.
That's Ilka Harpler. I mean, because he's been here since God knows when, since 2010, but he has run every single race at Zandvoort. No other driver has the opportunity to claim that.
Yeah, I like that. No Hutu today, right? I mean, Hutu, if he came today, he would have been... Would he have raced every race at Zandvoort, even if he showed up? Can't believe he didn't show up. No, not just for the championship, but for the Zandvoort stat. No, I'm just...
Maybe he got lost at the virtual Schiphol airport.
Maybe. But Ilka Harpler, regardless of that, back to him. He is a veteran of the series. He's still insanely quick. He is actually one of the most underrated drivers out there on the grid.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, I say Orion Race Team. I mean, we talked about them on the season opening podcast that you did, Johnny. They're a team that, they've never really battled for a world championship. They came close once for the first 4 rounds of a championship, but they never really had a full-length campaign of gunning for a championship. However, they are always a team that ends up with drivers inside the top 10 and drivers inside the top 10 in the final championship.
Yeah, they certainly do. If you have a driver like Ilka Harpler, who's in his 30s at the moment, and he's starting to age a little bit, 34 years of age, he has 2 wins in this World Championship all the way back in 2010. That was an eternity away. He started sim racing in the 90s, if you even want to call that sim racing back then. So he's been around for a while, and he's had he's built in that muscle memory, all that feel. The thing I like about those drivers who started sim racing in the 90s is that they actually don't have to practice for too long at this age. That they've embedded driving so much into their minds and their systems. The likes of Gregor Hutu will sometimes only practice for about 45 minutes a day, and here's Rogers, almost moved off a move there on Jamie Fluke. Oh, and Peter Berryman, sorry, Berryman's gone through.
Replay coming up. Jake, talk us through it.
Oh, it was a wiggle from Rogers. I don't know if he was just trying to trail brake into the corner, but the back stepped out on him, almost like a bit of snap oversteer. He did so well to correct it, using the banking to his advantage to keep the track on the island. But there's the mistake that cost him the position. That puts 2 Apex cars on the podium. That, you have to say, came out of relative nowhere, and that is a fantastic gift for Berryman, who goes, thank you, I'll cash the check in the morning.
Yeah, but you say that, Jake, it's also one of the issues that Burst eSports have had in terms of their tyre life. It's the same. I mean, look again, snap oversteer on the exit of Vodafone Corner. And this is the same issue that I talked about. Burst eSports at Apex Racing 2 years ago, they are struggling to get a 4-race stint together. They got the qualifying pace, but the speed that these drivers are running at, they cannot necessarily keep up when it comes to running a full race distance. And I think right now, Rogers had to push so hard over the first 15 laps of this event that Mitchell de Jong is coming. Mitchell de Jong might be past in the next 5 laps.
Well, now that gap is down under a second by 6 thousandths, so we know that de Jong's in the wheelhouse now to try and take advantage. 1.4 seconds taken off on that last lap, just thanks to 2 mistakes. And I think the big thing with Burst eSports is the big E, experience. They are lacking a lot of experience. It's only the 2nd season for Marcus Jensen. It's only the 1st season, the debut season for Josh Rogers. Both of them are still under the age of 19. So you look at that team, you go, go, yeah, this team's going to be great 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line. But right now, they're showing great pace now, but they're not unlocking all of that potential. They need to sign someone in their mid-20s, early 30s who can be that mentor figure to this team and actually go out there and say, well, you know, this is what you need to work on, this is what you can improve on, and you'll become a better driver for it.
Indeed so. Mitchell de Jong then in P number 5, hunting down Josh Rogers. Let's ride a lap on board with him. Two-stop window coming up then, Johnny. If you are a driver looking to try and do that, we've got Marcus Jensen, who has already come on towards pit road. He did himself a time of 4.2 seconds. So it looks as though he's on that two-stopper.
He found a good gap out there on the racetrack, possibly ahead of Michael Partington, but he's missed that now because Michael Partington has 4 seconds ahead of him, and he's right behind the Radicals Online driver. But yeah, the two-stop window is right now, and make your stops quickly, or else you'll be Marcus Jensen, for example, right now, stuck behind drivers. You want to find that clean air, but it's a real risky strategy, this two-stop, Will. I'm expecting the top 5 to stretch this out to a one-stop, especially since 19 laps into the event, your top 5 separated by 5 seconds. Nice work.
Well, yeah, I would say that can go either way, because some drivers might think, okay, we're all so close together, we're not making inroads on each other, let's see what we can do around us with the gap that opens up in terms of traffic. But the thing is, Jay, that is a fluid gap. You could pit, you could end up with clean air for 2 laps, and then other people pit around you, and you're back in traffic. So you've really got to be careful. And I always say, it's the same in Indy 500, find a game plan and stick to it.
Exactly, and it reminds me of the Monaco race that was seen in the World Championship Formula 1 this year, where Daniel Ricciardo had a lot of engine issues and nobody could still find a way to get up.
Oh my word, we just had a big crash. Ilka Harpolo there, sorry, and Kevin Ellis Jr. Wow. And was that Kevin Ellis Jr.? It was
a corpse.
Yeah, David Accord. He got rammed down into Tarzan Corner. I was just taking a quick swig of water as you were talking there, Jake. But in towards turn number 1, I mean, that was... You talk about Daniel Ricciardo. That was Daniel Ricciardo-esque.
But Daniel Ricciardo-esque in one sense, but it's the wrong take the postage stamp and send it there. Kevin Ellis Jr. missed his braking point there, and Davide Corpse, well, it's just as if the front wing just got underneath and he's up and over the banking, and that's a wicked, wicked accident. Kevin Ellis Jr., he's lucky. He's so lucky that he's still able to go and he's still got a front wing. But my goodness, Davide Corpse will be shaken up by that one.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, Jake, is that, of course, this will be reviewed after the race, most likely, by the stewards. So, Kevin Ellis Jr., if he gets a penalty, remember where he is in terms of championship. Remember what I said about making no mistakes. Even though Ellis Jr. is still running this event, if you go to the next round of the championship and you have to start from the rear of the field, that's going to be really hard.
It is, and that's what's going to hurt. But for Kevin Ellis Jr., he's got the position that he wants, but it's not the one that many people expected, as Mac Backham, I do believe, has come down onto the lane, followed swiftly by Kazuki Umeshima. I think that's an oversight from Umeshima, who actually has got out far and beyond ahead of Matt Backham.
Backham had damage.
Yeah, that was the front wing change, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Backham did a 10.5 second pit stop there. It's saying 0.2 seconds for Kazuki Umeshima. That is not the case. But Matt Backham did a pit stop of 10.5 seconds there, and he's struggling as a consequence. Front wing repair then from Matt Backham. That's put him all the way down in P number 15. Marcus Jensen has, by the way, got himself past Michael Partington and get the gap already there, Johnny. He's up to 3.6, so that shows you how much time he lost behind Michael Partington.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, goodness. So he's a lot quicker, Marcus Jensen. Before his pit stops, he was lapping 1 minute 16.7s, mid 1 minute 16s. Now he's in the mid 1 minute 15. So a 1 second difference. It doesn't seem like much, but at a short lap like this, very important. Josh Rogers enters the pit lane. Ilka Haapala also in. This is important for Josh Rogers, Will. The undercut could come into play, possibly for the race lead if Kroenke doesn't pit anytime soon.
Nice into his stall. 3.3 seconds out and away. What a pit stop there by Joshua Rogers as he comes back out onto track. Well, Jake, you talk about needing a perfect pit stop. That was a perfect pit stop.
Ace from Rogers and the Burst Esports pit crew, and well, you can see where he's come out behind Marcus Jensen, so that's going to be crucial. Jensen's going to do all the difficult work of trying to get past, and then that's going to allow Josh Rogers essentially just to breeze on by using Jensen as the pick. This is fantastic work now from Rogers, and he knows that he's going to be forcing the hands of maybe Peter Berryman or Jamie Fluke. One of the two has to cover from Apex, and then you've got Martin Kroenke out there on his own, but I think it would have to be Mitchell de Jong who covers that move off, and I think de Jong's going to drop back maybe a little bit over the course of this next couple of stints, but right now on cue in comes Jamie Fluke.
Yeah, so Fluke's in, almost hits the guardrail as he comes on towards pit road, so Jamie Fluke comes in then to cover maybe Rogers, making his pit stop then in the number 49 Apex Racing UK machine. There are your top 8 along the bottom of your screen, but here comes Fluke then on towards pit road. First stop of the day, likely to be 2-stopper, out and away 4.1, but 21.5 seconds, same as Rogers in terms of the lane. But well, for Fluke, he comes out behind Marcus Jensen. Disaster there for Jamie Fluke there, Johnny.
Yeah, but Jensen, he definitely won't be a one-stop in this race. This is a 2-stop race for Jensen. Fluke and Rogers can possibly stretch this out to a 1-stop, but it would be ultra optimistic. And it looks like Martin Kroenke, by the way, right now, he has to react. Otherwise, he's going to lose the race lead at the moment.
Well, you understand that a lot of drivers definitely put themselves in a position where they either have to make a move or not. And look at that, Kroenke covering it off, absolutely perfect. Goes down onto the lane, absolutely perfect. Same with Peter Berryman as well. De Jong stays out, so he's going to go out there for the Uber undercut. But keep an eye on that FA Racing G2 car in the pits, Isaac Price. He's out of the event. He did that 3 laps ago with a heavy bit of contact into the final corner. Kroenke into his box, up and down, Berryman up, Berryman down, out and away though goes Martin Kroenke, retaining the race lead.
Indeed so. So we've got ourselves Mitchell de Jong now leading the way in this event. There is Martin Kroenke after coming out making his first pit stop of the day. 4.1 seconds for him. 21.6 overall on the lane. Now, worth noting that Jensen did close back up to within 1 second of Martin Kroenke through that pit stop, but now it's going to be really interesting to see what the circumstances going to be with Mitchell de Jong. Johnny, he might well have tried all he could to save those tyres early and go onto a 1-stopper, whilst everyone else is now clearly on a 2-stopper.
One or two more laps, de Jong will comfortably 1-stop this race, and there'll be no question about it. So de Jong is in a perfect position right now, 15 seconds in the lead. He can stretch this stint out a little bit longer than he likes, just so his rubber can last much better towards the end of the event. But I think it's possible from this stage in. Everybody else that has pitted needs to 2-stop. There is no way you can 1-stop this race from lap 24, 25 all the way to the end. What I'm liking so far is Marcus Jensen, aggressive strategy. Pitted early, now essentially in provisional P2 and on the podium after starting from 7th.
Yeah, he's got himself right now the driver of Jamie Fluke behind him. The gap is scored at about 4/10 of a second. Jensen in 3rd, Jamie Fluke in the 4th position. Worth noting that the biggest loser out of all of that really was Josh Rogers. But Kazuki Umeshima now somehow up into P number 7 in this event. So good running right now by Kazuki Umeshima. But that is because he was one of the first drivers on towards pit road, got the undercut, but the issue is that might hurt him later on, Jake.
Well, it's certainly doing well. Umeshima, he made a great advantage in that pit stop window, getting past Matt Backham, who had the damage that needed to be repaired. Now Backham, back in 9th place, has to get past Ilkka Harpala as well. So for now, at least, it's a case of make your way through as quickly as you can. But again, you still have to keep an eye right now on Jamie Fluke. He is all over the back of Marcus Jensen. Jensen will now have older tyres than everyone else who's behind him, and that's going to be detriment to him chasing down Kroenke and co moving forward, as De Jong now fully commits to that one-stop strategy, going on to his 26th lap on this stint. So Jensen for the moment here under pressure. Big lunge from Jamie Fluke. Door just about covered through turn number 1. Can he have a go at Gerlach? Answer's going to be no. There was the warning shot there, Will, and Marcus Jensen all of a sudden now has 2 very hungry ex-teammates behind him.
Yeah, as we ride on board with Jamie Fluke in the number 49 Apex Racing UK machine up the hill. Not able to do anything, but again, all you need to do at this stage is make one little look, a little dance. And again, these guys have been teammates, Johnny, as Jake just mentioned, back at Apex Racing UK before Jensen left. So now the question's going to be, Fluke knows pretty much all of Jensen's weaknesses. Which one of those is going to try and exploit?
Yeah, he needs to right now. I think the biggest weakness that he can easily exploit is the tyre life. You can put Jensen under more pressure, make him push harder. It's what we saw Ellis Jr. do to Jurgis earlier on in the event. Here they go through. This is the run you need to set up through these final couple of corners, through turn 12 and 13. Get the run out of here. Get as much slipstream as you can. DRS zone available here. One of the 2 DRS zones available. Fluke with an opportunity for P2. Good defensive driving from Marcus Jensen. Around the outside, Jamie Fluke. Brilliant braking, great confidence and poise, and slots himself into provisional P2 once Mitchell de Jong makes his pit stop.
Yeah, fantastic overtake there. Peter Berryman wasn't able to follow through in towards Tarzan corner, but Berryman was very close to that in towards turn number 4 as they work themselves up the hill again. Look at how close Peter Berryman is. I'll tell you one thing, Jensen's tyres are falling off a cliff already here. This is what I talked about before, Jake, about having to push those tyres too hard too early and then having nothing to defend with later on.
And you can see how much he's checking up Rogers, who really is in the better position out of the pair of the Burst Esports drivers. You understand that Peter Berryman has to get through to keep the advantage up, but Jensen, the moment that Berryman goes through is the moment Rogers goes through as well. He will understand that there will be a multi-21 surely because of the differences in strategies. But for the moment, you look at Berryman, he's seen how he can do it around the outside at turn number 1 at Tarzan, the same way that Jamie Fluke has. Marcus Jensen right now is sitting and duck, and here comes Berryman.
Well, yeah, here comes Berryman then as they come down towards turn number 1. Looks down to the inside. No, not able to do it yet. Not this time by. So we go on board then with Berryman on the exit of turn number 1. This tight even and twisty section through turns number 2, 3, and 4. One thing that's worth noting here, Johnny, is if you do end up going too wide through turn 4, there is always that risk that one of the drivers ends up in that tyre barrier. But Berryman, you see, this is where he's fastest. He's looking to the outside into 7. You don't make a pass there.
No, you don't. And rightly so, he remains behind. Looking for a move here into turn 7. Still searching for a way past Marcus Jensen, the young man. Peter Berryman Oh man, he's so brave. This is the corner here, turn number 9, where Backham and Frake Shotos clashed on the opening lap of the event. Berryman remains behind. Here's the second DRS zone. On the run down to the Audi S into turn 10, still no move available for Peter Berryman. You talked about turn 4, Will. You won't just end up in the tire barriers, you may end up in the spectator area, and that's why you don't pull off a move into there.
Yep, so we're on board of Berryman again, gets a much better run on the exit then of Kimo Corner, now into Arrowlandite Corner. Towards the start-finish line, in towards Tarzan Corner, down to the inside. We'll go Peter Berryman, he's got the move done. Easily in towards Tarzan Corner, up into 4th place, but get this one, Jake. He's lost 1.6 to his teammate in 2 laps.
Oh, that's just how much he was held up in that situation. Now, if there were any cool heads at a certain Burst Esports team, Rogers goes through as quickly as possible, because look how much he's being held up thanks to Marcus Jensen. Berryman is pulling away here, and I think it's going to have to be for Marcus Jensen. If you want Burst to do well, you got to let him go. There's no other alternatives here. Your strategy only works well when you come in, make that stop, and get back out again. And I think right now, Jensen's feeling the pressure here. He understands that he's got to do more than anyone else. I wonder if he goes even braver and decides to pit in very, very soon, maybe lap 35 or so, and go, you know what? The tyres are going away. Why don't we 3-stop this? We've got nothing to lose. Let's Max Del Orco it.
Yep, let it go there, Marcus Jensen. Your tyres aren't holding up no more. As Josh Rogers, I expect then Jensen to just ease off the throttle this time by. But the thing is, Rogers isn't actually right behind Jensen, so it's going to look a lot more obvious here. And you can see he's on the DRS, so he's not going to allow his teammate to go past. Yeah, Jensen, the thing is, if Rogers was within 0.2 of a second there, he very easily would have found his way past. Let's go back, though, to your race leader, because I want to show you a statistic here, Johnny, and have a look at the lap gaps. Look at this, 1.8 a lap. Kroenke is gaining over his teammate De Jong, but the issue is that De Jong is now 5.7 ahead of Kroenke, but he's about 4 laps away from pitting.
He is. I mean, the one-stop window is essentially guaranteed open right now on lap 30. Lap 36 is 50% of the distance in the 71-lap race, essentially. You cross 50% of the distance at the end of that lap. So I don't think it's enough now for Mitchell de Jong for a one-stop. I don't think it's enough to win the race. But if you can hold up some good pace here towards the end of the stint and keep this strategy alive and still remain ahead of Kroenke before he pits, and then maintain good pace into the second stint, hey, let's not call things out. You know, de Jong could be in a good position. So we'll wait and find out later on in the event.
Yeah, his best lap today, 1:15.856. His last lap time was almost 0.2 of a second slower than that one. As Marcus Jensen, Josh Rogers, and Rogers' pass move Josh Rogers up into P number 5, Marcus Jensen down into P number 6. Let's get ourselves a replay of that one, but it's pretty academic then, down in towards turn number 1. Yeah, and that's the thing. Jensen wasn't just going to put himself on the brakes if Rogers was half a second back there, Jake. But the second he was close enough, you saw Jensen move to the right-hand side, game over.
Exactly, and the moment that it happened was the moment that it was going to be all said and done. We've also got a lovely little battle going on further back as we keep an eye on Kroenke, who's about 2 laps away from catching Mitchell de Jong and actually going for the move. We've got Stephen Michaels versus Ricardo Orozco. Orozco, get this, a track you can't overtake on apparently, is up from 22nd to 13, plus 9.
Yep, Ricardo Orozco in the Positive Sim Racing machine. Stephen Michaels, we believe actually he's departed from Positive Sim Racing, but we're still awaiting official confirmation of that one to the World Championship Series. And Michaels then losing out to what may well be a former teammate now, as Orozco is starting to put away. Orozco's next victim will be Pas Gergis, and Gergis, well, running in P number 12 right now on track. Let's have a look at those movers and shakers so far in the event today, because it's not as big as what we'd normally see here, Johnny, but it is a case of, in fact, that is not right at all, because it's showing Marcus Jensen up 17 places, and so we can't show you that graphic, unfortunately. But it is worth noting that Gergis has kind of been that driver who's just had people coming up behind him pretty much all race long.
He's he'll fight for it. His personality, he's up for any challenge for Carlos Churches. The great young man, and he's very quick as well in the Formula One car. I still remember from years ago, Will, when he came back into sim racing, took a bit of a hiatus from it, and was just trying to learn from everybody and still trying to get himself up to speed. And he's trying to push himself, extremely passionate about things, trying to figure out qualifying. Now he's one of the best sim racers in the world.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show that, when you know these people before they became great, it's just so fascinating to see a human being's progress, especially when it comes to sports and their own development and the time he puts in. He's very quick.
As we just saw Martin Kroenke there breeze past Mitchell de Jong for the race lead. And that one there, I think, was more of a case of de Jong realizing the fact that his tyres are going and he's working now to a number rather than him actually wanting to fight at all, Jake, because I think actually if you had a look at Mitchell de Jong, he was actually just easing off the throttle into Tarzan corner that time by. But this will actually help Mitchell de Jong a little bit now because he gets the DRS for this lap. I believe he'll be on towards pit road, not this lap, maybe next lap, in my opinion. But de Jong, he's playing an interesting strategy here because, yes, he's not going to win the motor race, but remember, he's qualifying here today. Remember what I said, conservative versus aggressive. De Jong has gone onto an alternate strategy because he thinks that's the only way he's going to make up places in this event.
Damage limitation, Will, and that's going to be very telling because Martin Kroenke is looking for his 4th race win of the season. A big slide.
He's got to come
off the
in this
exit of the
lap.
Audi. Yes, he has to come in. The tyres are shot. They are off a cliff. He is running lap times 2 seconds a lap slower than everybody in the top 4, top 5. So surely de Jong's got to think about diving onto the lane. And no, he stays out even longer. Mitchell de Jong right now is a target, and this is only going to allow Berryman in. This is only going to allow Jamie Fluke in. The only thing he'll be hoping for is that he can hold up Peter Berryman a little bit more before he decides to come down onto the lane. I think Mitchell de Jong's racing for a top 5. I don't think he's racing for a victory at all. I'm not sure he's even racing for a podium.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, though, because of where Berryman and Fluke have caught them, this is going to help Martin Kroenke to know when. Get this, in a lap and 5 corners, Johnny, Mitchell de Jong has lost 3 seconds to Martin Kroenke. Now, for Berryman to overtake is going to be hard. We know that de Jong has absolutely no tyres right now. And I'll tell you one thing, Berryman looking down to the inside already, he's realised as they come in towards Vodafone corner that it's going to be hard to overtake anywhere else. He knows how shot these tyres are. That's going to cost him anyway. But Mitchell de Jong down into 3rd place. Jamie Fluke should go past in towards the Audi S. No, he's not. But de Jong there did actually cost Berryman a full second.
Smart by Peter Berryman, because I think if any motive for de Jong to stay out would have been to hold up these guys, because he knows he's racing these guys for position and just cost them a bit of time. And Berryman says, no, I'm just going to slot myself way past. De Jong should pit this time around, and he does exactly that. And the reason why you pit this time around is if you're going to one-stop and you start the race on a heavier fuel load than you're going to end the race, obviously, don't take the tyres past 50% of the distance. Lap 35, the maximum de Jong should go on a one-stop, and he pinpoints the strategy to perfection.
Yep, so he's onto his pit stall there and going to make himself that service. He's got another driver in. That's Marcus Jensen in for... Yeah, that is a free-stop strategy for Marcus Jensen then. We're talking about Max Alorco. Hi, Max. How's it going?
You certainly are. Look at where Jensen comes out side by side with Michaels coming off the lane, much more superior tyres, and he will certainly take the position in through Gerlach, but Michaels will fight him every step of the way. Can he send it back at the inside at the Hugenholz? No, he can't. So there goes through Marcus Jensen up a position, but look at how much time he will lose now to Mitchell de Jong. Not only does he have to make that move, he's got to get a position as well on Orozco and on Jurgis here, and he's got Stephen Michaels not giving up behind, but surely the GOAT has to be given, or the Ghost has to be given up, actually, shall I say. A brave effort, but Marcus Jensen now, not what he wanted from his strategy here. He's pitted and he's in traffic.
Yeah, and also he messed up down at Hugenholzbolt as well. That almost allowed the driver of Stephen Michaels to get back past him. So that's going to cost him about 2 tenths of a second minimum. Marcus Jensen then making his second stop of the day. If you do want to check out live timing and scoring, you can do so. Racesport.tv/timing. Let's not forget as well, we got 2 races going on right now here, live on Racesport TV and on the iRacing eSports network. The other one of those is the Spa 24 Hours. Let's check in with the guys, that is Conor Maddock and Alvin Nieves.
regret right now, but when this is pretty much hour 2 of this race, so there's really no point in trying to go for that move. As the number 81 goes for a move on Geodesic Racing and maybe going 3 wide, and Geodesic Racing decided to, this is better. Well, number 86 got both of them, so good move on them.
Yeah, 2-for-1 special down in towards the cone for Rookie Garcia and the Euphoria Racing team, managing to get themselves past the 2 cars that are on all the tires. So now this is their chance to try and get away and gain a huge amount of their rivals, as there's a little bit of contact coming through Ravage there between Theodesic and Vodafone Giants. Another bit of contact coming down through No Name Corner as well, and they're still stacked up behind the Giants here. First pass Mivana Racing down towards the inside. F1 potentially trying to find the gap, but they tag around Vodafone Giants. They managed to hold it together somehow. There goes Jim Jr. Black all the way to the outside of the track. They're going to go 3 wide into Lafania here, but they managed to split it up into 2 sets of 2. As there's more contact with the Ryan Race team and Vodafone Giants right now. They're going to have to take to the grass and rejoin the track as cars scramble to try to avoid them. Still side by side going on between Williamson, Jr. Black and Team Hoising.
What a race we got going on then in the 24 Hours of Spa. Of course, you can catch that one all weekend long on the iRacing eSports Network. 18 hours brought to you by RaceSport TV, 6 hours by our friends over at V8 Online. Kevin Ellis Jr. versus Mac Backham right now, going at it for P7 on track. Ellis Jr. is on 2-lap newer tyres there, Johnny. And this is where Ellis Jr. has got to start making, a statement. He is 4th place in the championship. And, well, if you can get past Backham, that's really going to help him.
Yeah, he's already been in some argy-bargy this race, hasn't he? He sent Dion Burgess, David de Corps, excuse me, flying upside down and out of the event. And, I actually met about 2 years ago. The first time I ever met Kevin Ellis Jr., we're having an argument. And then a year later, I found out, that person I had an argument with was Kevin Ellis Jr., and now we're good friends. So it's all good. That's how a lot of good friendships start, isn't it, Will? You start to hate each other for the first 2 or 3 months, and you get along after a while. Right now, he's having an argument with Mac Backham, and cannot get past a good mate of his. And through this tight section, turn 3, fun corner to drive, not a fun corner to pull off an overtake, and then Will's optimistic overtaking spot of turn 4. We fly past that through 5. Now the track starts to widen up here. Ellis Jr. has had a good race, minus that argy-bargy with David de Corps.
I said it's only a good overtaking opportunity if you're side by side on the exit of Tarzan. If you're not side by side on the exit of Tarzan, you're not ever going to make a pass in towards turn number 4. No. As we're on board with Stephen Michaels, I will say one thing as well. There's been many, many sim racers who I've known, I've been in arguments with, I've been friends with. All but one of them, I'm happy to share. I say a beer, but of course, any other form of drink may be available. All but one of them I'm very happy to share a beer with. And that's the thing, quite often, that? Johnny, I'm not going to say that name, not on a broadcast. But that's the thing, you might have an argument with people, but actually, we are all one family. We are all sim racers. And actually, once you see people in the flesh and you have a chat to them, quite often, people actually realize, okay, I get your perspective on things.
Yeah, I know. And by the way, in sports, people are always in the heat of the moment most of the time. Most arguments take place after a race when you're in competitive mode, and that's what people don't understand. When they hear drivers on the radio in races complaining and it sounds like they're angry all the time, but you got to understand, one of you is sitting on a TV couch or whatever, on a couch watching TV. Another one of you is in competitive mode fighting for a championship where prize money is involved, and it does become very heated. So that'll always happen as well. But this is a great community, as you say. Lots of good friends I have from sim racing, and hopefully good friends for the decades and centuries, hopefully, if life expectancy increases.
Okay, there's 2 situations going on, potentially, in your battle for the race lead. Number 1, Peter Barrowman is catching Martin Cronkite legitimately, Jake. Or number 2, maybe Martin Cronkite is just trying to save those tyres to make it a one-stopper from here on in. Because over the last 4 laps, Peter Barrowman gained 1.5 over Martin Cronkite. He did lose time that last lap, but I think that Cronkite is trying to save those tyres as much as he can.
Well, Kroenke's actually gone quicker, and actually there's an issue for Matt Backham, who goes behind, but goes back to the inside, looking to make that move, and just about manages it as well. So that was a very, very nice move then from Kevin Ellis Jr., who makes his way through. And I was looking at Matt Backham through that final corner, Will, and it looked so difficult. It was a check-up. He was slowing on the apex, and all of a sudden he was just losing it on the exit as well. Actually checked up, almost as if the brakes stuck or something there, Will. Very, very weird for Matt Backham.
Yeah, let's get ourselves another look at this, actually, on board of Matt Backham. Let's listen in. Yeah, those gear changes, you're right there, Jake. The gear changes were long. It's as if the acceleration pedal wasn't working properly, which basically means he was half riding on the braking towards in the final corner. You're right there. So some issues there for the number 16 car.
Yeah, a lot of issues, and I think Johnny's more probably technologically more adept to answering that situation.
No, well, I don't know. But it could be an ERS problem. But you don't have ERS issues like that. But he seems to be, like, how much time has he lost at the moment? There certainly needs to, it's either a pedal issue, some sort of technical issue with his wheel.
Second and a half in the line.
Yeah, so it's either that or it's an ERS issue, because it's got to be one of the two. You know, sometimes I've had issues with my own physical pedals at home where the brake pedal starts to ride and it just happens randomly, and you need to get the WD-40 out and give them a clean, or hopefully it's just a simple issue like that. But right now, these are critical points Matt Backham is losing.
Yeah, as we're having a look at Pas Gerges right now, he's 4 tenths of a second ahead of Ricardo Orozco as they work themselves through the Holtzbolt, turn number 4 on track. What I want to go back to, though, Jake, about Martin Kroenke is that, yeah, he gained time on that lap we were talking about, but he's been losing, on average, 3 tenths of a second per lap to Peter Berryman. They come past the start-finish line again. Kroenke does a 1:16.027, and again, 3 tenths of a second, Peter Berryman faster.
And Peter Berryman is now finding the pace which says, you know what, I can challenge for victories. I can challenge for victories consistently, and I can be as quick as Martin Kroenke, and I'm not going to be this nearly man that has been the man who was always considered to be the underling of Graham Carroll. I'm not going to be the man who goes off and plays snooker tournaments in Cyprus for however many rounds of the championship. I'm going to be the man who's going to go out there, and I'm going to fight for victories, and I'm going to hopefully in the next couple of years have a real championship push. And for Peter Berryman, this is what we're starting to see. Kroenke under pressure, and Berryman with better tyre life. Rare to hear that from Apex. Actually pushing and chasing down the 2-time reigning, defending, undisputed champion.
Ricardo Orozco going towards pit road for the second pit stop of the day right now. I'm going to come in that positive sim racing machine, out and away. 4.1 seconds there, Johnny.
Not good for him. Not good. These are valuable seconds that you need at the moment. Coming towards this stage of the race anyway. Also approaching. Those guys on a 2-stop. Certainly searching for that second stop right around now. The lap 43 range. You want to come in at this point. De Jong's already entered. He's on the 1-stop. So this race is getting quite intense here towards the latter stages.
Yeah, you got yourself 2 Coanda guys behind Michael Partington in battle for 15th place right now. David Williams, P16. Tommy Erskard, P number 17. Now, we used to quite heavily, Johnny, talk about the 2-tier system over at Coanda Sim Sports. We're getting it again because you've got Matt Backham, Mitchell de Jong, Martin Kroenke out front. Tommy Erskard, David Williams, 16th and 17th in this event.
Coanda only bring in drivers that they like and suit the team. If you know someone who's been signed by Coanda, as David Williams is very close here to the driver of Michael Partington. I think Stephen Michaels has entered the pit lane. Is Stephen Michaels out of the event, by the way? He's got a lot of damage.
He might have done, actually. He was actually okay a few moments ago. So let's get a replay on board.
Hit the wall.
With, Stephen Michaels. Let's get a replay on board of him. Because he's just come on towards pit road. Here's a replay. This is down into our Lyndike corner.
He locks it up, Will.
He does, as he comes in towards pit road. That's almost David Coulthard-esque. back in Australia in 1995 there. I was expecting him to hit the tyre barriers, Johnny, but he didn't. He hit the guardrail instead as Kroenke on towards pit road.
Kroenke on the pit roads. That's not the first time I've seen a driver do that here at Zandvoort or any other racetrack. Kroenke out of the pit lane. Oh, he's just going to feed out ahead of teammate Mitchell de Jong. Kevin Ellis Jr. all over the place as well. And a thrilling fight, by the way. Mitchell de Jong made his way past Kevin Ellis Jr. Kroenke, luckily, just in front of the two.
Yep, so that is perfect for Martin Kroenke. For Kevin Ellis Jr., Apex Racing UK, again, Jake, they're thinking, what do we need to do? But Peter Berryman right now has got to come in my opinion, this next lap.
What if he doesn't come in, Will? I want to entertain a strategy where he makes it a one-stop to the end. He's going to be on screaming old tyres, but think about the difference in lap times. We haven't seen too much. We've seen maybe, 15.4s, maybe the best lap times that we've seen. Peter Berryman's best lap of the race so far is a 1:15.3. Look at Martin Kroenke's best lap of his event so far. That one was a 1:15.5. Really, we haven't seen much tyre drop-off at all. Kroenke is only going to be hitting those 15.5s, and if there's only 0.6 of a second difference and there's 24 odd laps to go, I think he can hold on for this one. Into pit road comes Ilkka Haapala. That's another good release there for Martin Kroenke.
Yeah, and behind Kevin Ellis Jr. is going to come on towards pit road as well. We've also got Matt Backham on pit road. So 3 drivers on pit road all at the same time. Johnny, talk us through it.
All coming in. This is going to be a tight battle. Mac Backham distracted, isn't he? He has to, yeah, that's going to hamper you a lot. Mac Backham enters his stall, distracted quite easily there. Haapala ahead of Kevin Ellis Jr. Ilkka Haapala having a great race so far, and I told you, he's an underrated driver, isn't he? Ooh. He's in that Orion race team car, very close with Mac Backham, and the driver of David Williams, his teammate Williams, into the wall.
Oh, that's the second time here today that we've had ourselves an incident involving Mac Backham potentially, and David Williams is out of this event. So we're going to replay it all the way back before Williams came, before the contact itself, before actually we had Matt Backham come out of pit road. So we're going to replay it all the way down here, the front straightaway. You're going to see the driver of Matt Backham come out onto your right-hand side of your screen now. In towards turn 1, Tarzan corner. Oh, he lost it all by himself there, Jake. So I thought this was going to be Matt Backham, but Williams on the outside line, let's be honest, not many people have tried to run the outside line at Tarzan corner. Onto the marbles, David Williams, goodbye.
Well, he was all over the curb, Will, on the exit, and that's the last place you want to be, and that really did hamper him, and as such, he has struggled. Out of pit road comes Jamie Fluke as well. He's behind Marcus Jensen as well as a certain Mitchell de Jong, but we do expect Marcus Jensen to have to pit maybe once more in this event, but oh my goodness me, this race certainly turning it up, and talk about turning it up. Martin Kroenke's turning it up. 1:15 flat that last time by. He took a full second out of Peter Berryman.
Yeah, and this is the issue here, in my opinion here, Johnny, because we've got Martin Kroenke right now, and this is the gap to the race.
In comes Berryman.
Yeah, Berryman is on towards pit road then. So we're not even going to have the conversation. Berryman is not going to come out with the lead of this motor race. Berryman, in fact, might end up behind Mitchell de Jong.
He may, but he'll have the fresh rubber, obviously, don't forget. So Josh Rogers also into the pit lane, and Berryman positions his car nicely. Some drivers think that's quicker. Oh, it's a long pit penalty. Stop.
Oh, my word. So Apex Racing UK go again from maybe having themselves a race victory to being squandered one. 18.9 second pit stop. Here's a replay of Berryman coming on towards pit road. In fact, we're just going to replay this one from 15 seconds back. We're going to show it to you. Let's listen in. What I don't get there, Jake, is he slowed it down perfectly into the pit stop. It's like into pit road. He was on the limiter.
Well, he was very, very close to that limiter. He was 65 going over the line, and you've got a bit of leeway. He had maybe a bit of damage, but I feel for Berryman, you know, there's nothing else that would say 18 seconds other than a 15-second stop and hold somewhere on track, and of course the normal pit stop time that goes along with that as well. So for Berryman, I think it is speeding. I think there's nothing else, Will, that you can really say, unless it was an unsafe pit entry because he was too late coming onto pit road.
What the Apex need to do, Jake? What the Apex Racing UK need to do?
They need to pad all their drivers with, with bubble wrap or something like that. Make sure they don't make any mistakes anywhere, and make sure that they cradle them and baby them through races until they get that victory. Because right now, Berryman's got to get past Kazuki Umashima. That's not where he was expecting after that final stop.
No, Mitchell de Jong on a 13-lap stint right now. He's actually lapping faster the last time by than Martin Kroenke. However, those tyres are 9 laps older than Martin Kroenke's here, Johnny. So actually for de Jong, it's worked out perfectly.
Yeah, that's not that bad. 9 laps older, 1-stop strategy. Everyone else is on the 2-stop. And now with Berryman out of the picture, hey, podium's on offer here for Mitchell de Jong. And if Marcus Jensen can't make his way past over the next 20-plus laps, this will be a great result for Mitchell de Jong, and only he could pull off a strategy like this. Back to the Berryman thing, I think he had front wing damage. There was a dent in there, but you know, sometimes we see that visually. You never know. The pit stop was a lot longer than it normally would be for damage. Here he comes now, Peter Berryman. No fresh front wing this time. Able to make a move on Kazuki Umashima for P6. Too easy at the end of the day. Oh, contact, and Umashima continues. Good, though, that none of them are off the racetrack.
We also saw Jamie Fluke get past Marcus Jensen. You talked about how Marcus Jensen couldn't close down Mitchell de Jong. There's one driver who can. It's the driver of Jamie Fluke in the number 49 machine. He's only 3 laps into his stint compared to Mitchell de Jong. And in terms of lap gaps, well, let's have a look at that one on your screen right now. And he's gained only 1/10 that last time by. But, of course, he was stuck behind Marcus Jensen the lap before. He gained 0.8 of a second. So still a lot of racing going on here on RaceSport TV and on iRacing Live. We will, however, take a quick 90-second break here on RaceSport TV. Take your RaceSport TV side by side. Back with more in a minute.
So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up.
4 more kilometers.
There we go! This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to ride.
Kroenke! Down to the inside of Hoosie's off!
Messenger throws the block, and he will keep him behind him.
My time. None of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down. Hand over my crown. Hand over my heart. I do this for my town. I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time. None of you people can tell me to stop. Turning the track up. I'll never go back down. Hand over my heart. I do this for my town. I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time. None of you people can tell me to stop.
Welcome back here to RaceSport TV. We're on board right now with the driver of Jamie Fluke. He is currently 4.6 behind Mitchell de Jong. However, Jake, he is gaining at almost 3/10 of a second, 3/4 of a second, minimum a lap, as they work themselves on the exit of lap number 50 here. And Jamie Fluke is a driver who could still get second place, but he's also on 3-lap newer tyres than Martin Kroenke. As we continue to ride on board then with Jamie Fluke.
Oh, was that my cue?
It was your cue. It's okay.
I literally just got back. So, yeah, you're looking at Jamie Fluke right now here, Will. And, you know, you're absolutely right. He's putting in some fantastic lap times at the moment. 1:14.9. He just did a 1:14.7 the lap before as well. He is the fastest man on track, bar none. He's half a second a lap quicker than Martin Kroenke. If he gets past de Jong, and I reckon he will, Kroenke's not safe.
He's not, and that's the thing. We've been looking to see what it would take for Apex Racing UK here, and all of a sudden, they have got a driver in Jamie Fluke right now. Let's ride a lap on board of him in that number 49 machine. Well, that's a lap and a bit on board there with Jamie Fluke. However, also worth noting that Marcus Jensen has come on towards pit road for a second time here. So, Johnny.
Third time.
Third time. Yeah, sorry, third time.
Yeah.
Get that one right. So the three-stop strategy did not work for him. He's down in P number 11. And he's also 8.3 seconds back from Yao Vaz. So realistically, P10 is the best he can get.
There's no way Jensen thought three-stop was the quickest way around here. I mean, the only time I ever three-stopped as a driver, or not three-stop, but went one stop longer than what the ideal strategy was if I just couldn't handle the tires. And I just couldn't get them to last for a two-stop over a race distance. And you're much more comfortable that way, and you see a lot of younger drivers do them, or drivers who are just crazy in the end, who just want to pull off overtakes and this and the other. But right now, I don't think it was the optimal strategy for Jensen.
You know, not necessarily. As we're having a look then at him, he's in P number 11. He's gaining over Yao Vaz, but not by a substantial margin. However, one driver who is gaining is the driver of Jamie Fluke. Last time by 1:15, 1:31 for him, 1:15.6 for Mitchell de Jong. So 4 attempts for a second gain by the driver of Jamie Fluke here, Jake. And well, here he is, and he has got himself about 17 laps to go, and I think that he could still easily pass de Jong. The question is, how hard does he have to work those tyres to get to P2?
Well, right now, he's closing in half a second a lap every single lap. He's got Daniel Bieder in the middle, who is a little bit of lap traffic, and that's going to be good in some respects because he's going to get the DRS now down the Audi S corner coming up. So Bieder will move out of the way. He'll get the DRS activation point there. They'll head themselves through Renault, and I expect Bieder to pull over to one side potentially. If not, he'll have to do it coming out of that section, but crucially, Fluke is getting DRS. Fluke is going quicker and quicker. Fluke is going half a second lap quicker, not only than Mitchell de Jong, but Martin Kroenke as well. I think it's not a matter of second place. It's a matter of how hard does de Jong defend, and does he save it for his championship or for Martin to keep the win?
Well, there's the interesting one, Johnny, because you lose less points if you were to come home third place with your rival winning. Sorry, with Kroenke coming home in... I'll start that again. You lose less points if de Jong comes second, so in third place. Start it one more time. If de Jong comes third place here today and Kroenke comes second, then he would lose less points with de Jong compared to if Kroenke wins and de Jong comes third. So realistically, you almost want to let Fluke past. You know what I mean? It's a tongue twister, but you know what I mean.
To let Jamie Fluke win the race. If you're saying,
it's better for de Jong to allow Fluke to win.
Yeah, because what you're saying there is the gap from P1 to P2 in points is 20 points, and the gap from P2 to P3 is 10 points. So you're right. Yeah, he would lose 10 extra points. You go, gosh, Will, why aren't you Mitchell de Jong's race engineer? Where are you?
Can you imagine that one?
I don't even think. Imagine Mitchell de Jong sitting in his cockpit with one of those big ass cigars and just saying, "Oh, look, let's let him through for let's let him through. He's going to be 20 points. Yeah, I figured it out in my head here. I don't think Mitchell de Jong could do those kinds of calculations."
I will say one thing. Could you imagine the anarchy that would take place at Coanda Supersports? That's going to happen. And let's not forget here, Jake. I mean, we're getting close to 4 years since Coanda Supersports came onto the scene. So, I mean, let's not have another breakup of relations in that team from when they were 3ID Gaming.
The only time that will happen is if Kroenke and de Jong get the gloves off and they start battling it out and they start hitting each other off the track. I think right now Jamie Fluke knows he's got to do well, but Kroenke's finding an extra gear. He doesn't think he's safe. 1:15.3, fantastic last lap from Martin Kroenke, using all of the tyre just to stay 2 tenths slower. Keep an eye on Berryman as well here. He's not out of this. He's still doing 1:14 lap times, and he's still on the hunt for 4th position. Josh Rogers certainly not safe right now as they head into Marlborough.
Yeah, on board then with Peter Berryman, and again, he's got fresh tyres right now on the Apex Racing UK machine. And again, it's such a disappointment for him that he's had to deal with that long pit stop, because otherwise Berryman, I'm just having a look at the stats here, he would want to be leading this motor race right now, Johnny.
Yeah, if you take away those 15 seconds, he would have still been probably stuck behind traffic. Will, I know what you're saying, though. On paper, the 15 seconds that he lost, he's only 13 seconds behind leader Kroenke at the moment. Through the final corner. Oh, goodness. Peter Berryman, when's he going to get that race win?
I don't know. And I'd say one thing right there, Peter Berryman lost that race for himself, and we've been talking about it all day long here, Johnny, that at this stage of the championship, you can't make mistakes because it will impact on a number of things. Now, Apex, Berryman and Fluke, they have less to lose than the 2 Coanda drivers ahead of them, than Mitchell de Jong, Martin Kroenke. That, I think, will be their best opportunity to get a race victory, knowing that Coanda simply cannot go millimeters apart. They'll have to be centimeters apart.
Yeah, definitely. That will come into play. Talking about Coanda, though, Jamie Fluke is trying to eat a Coanda driver alive right now. Has DRS on Mitchell de Jong into the Audi S through the right-hander. That curb can do damage. So, by the way, we talked about Peter Berryman and throwing his race away, Will. Look, it might have been a speeding penalty, but I truly think damage was in there as well, because I think he damaged his front wing on a curb. Earlier on in the second stint, he did that, Peter Berryman. But here's Jamie Fluke, regardless, on the rise into the second position. Dive bomb move, but the gap isn't there. De Jong, though, leaves a little bit of space and could find himself demoted to 3rd.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, that was Fluke's best opportunity so far to get into P2. And now, Jake, I will say that might cost him the chance at victory.
It could do, because Kroenke is putting in some sensational lap times again and again. 15.6 that time from Kroenke. De Jong, though, having to go defensive now. Jamie Fluke's got to pick the moment. Every lap that he spends cooped up behind Mitchell de Jong is another lap that he loses to attack Martin Kroenke into the get some words out, Jake. Into Vodafone, now into Renault. Looking for chances then is Fluke. He's hoping that he's got a run. He won't get the run here, though, even though he'll have DRS, unless he goes banzai and goes for the impossible move. He doesn't. He's more rational than that, is the Northern Irishman, as he now makes his way through the Audi S, hoping for the great run through the penultimate corner, but dirty air effect, his greatest nemesis.
So out of Airline Lake corner, he will come again now. The gap is 3 tenths per second, the same as last lap. Use ERS, use DRS, use everything in towards turn number 1. He's not close enough there. I will say one thing here. Apex Racing UK seemingly do not have the straight line speed here today here, Johnny.
No, I don't think so. They don't have the straight line speed. And what didn't help Jamie Fluke was the run out of the penultimate corner. Jake spoke about it. You go into that corner and there's a lot of dirty air, and it hampered Jamie. Jamie, with some brilliant reactions, was almost outside into the gravel track, but just unwinded the steering, removed the understeer, and saved his race. Peter Berryman passed Josh Rogers. He's in the 4th position now.
Yeah, let's get ourselves a second look at that one, shall we? On board with Peter Berriman. He got it down into Tarzan corner. There we are. A look at that one. They were side by side through 2. But then Roger's like, you know what? I know you're going to have the position from here on in. No point in fighting you. I'll tell you one thing. I would say Zandvoort is a track that might be better off earlier on in the season, Johnny, because of the fact that drivers are naturally more aggressive then. We might have seen more passing through turns number 2, 3, and 4 compared to what we're seeing here today, as Fluke lost a bit of time that last time by his final corner. Nothing again.
No, nothing. He has a peak, but I just think that slows you down. I mean, some drivers think that puts a little bit of pressure on the other, but I don't know. There's no right or wrong with that. Yeah, they go through the wonderful first sector of Zandvoort. First time I ever drove this track, I was into that tire barrier right there, Will. 3 turns and I had to reset my lap. Thank God for sim racing and no real-life injuries or damage.
Well, Jake, you might know, you've been to Western Supermare, haven't you?
Oh, yes, I have, many a time.
And there's a simulator there, and the track they drive is?
I don't know, I haven't been on it.
You've never been on it? It's Zandvoort. So the reason why I came to know Zandvoort so well is I spent far too much money spending a day literally just running at Zandvoort. So we're on board again with Fluke. This is your battle for second place on track, ladies and gentlemen. But the issue is the gap between De Jong and Fluke has eked itself up now to 5.6 seconds. I think actually here, Jake, that I think De Jong is just using that ERS and that DRS strategically, utilizing it on the front straightaway and allowing Kroenke to pull away here. Now, we talk about the fact that Kroenke and De Jong are in a battle for your race victory. This is a better chance, though, for Jamie Fluke. He will look down to the inside in towards turn number 1. He won't get down to the inside in towards turn number 1, and he won't be able to do anything on the exit of turn number 1.
No, and Jamie Fluke just didn't position his car properly there. He was halfway across the pit exit line there, trying to get down in. He had to double check his way through the corner because any more on that inside curb and he'd be undercutting the corner on the inside and he'd be in the grass and all over the place and out back into Mitchell de Jong. I think that de Jong's placing his car absolutely perfectly. Middle of the road driving into turn number 1, forcing Jamie Fluke to go for the impossible move. It's almost Ayrton Senna style driving. You've got to make the move or you're taking both of us out, as he has a half look down to the inside when it comes to the Vodafone corner.
Yeah, and now desperation will kick in for Jamie Fluke and that number 49 machine on the exit of Vodafone. He knows that he's losing time. The gap is now up to 6.1 seconds between Kroenke and Jamie Fluke. And well, if this has been designed in part, this will be absolutely genius by Mitchell de Jong to keep Apex Racing UK potentially away from the winner's rostrum, Johnny.
Yeah, I know that. Apex won't be happy with that. Nothing that Coanda did wrong. They'll just be frustrated with it. Fluke, though, this is the closest he's been, but de Jong is just... I mean, look, I don't know if it's the straight line speed as well, but there's something de Jong's doing with ERSs too, that the energy recovery system is keeping him ahead right now. Jamie Fluke runs it very deep, though, into 2 and 3. Offline, just a touch right there. So Jamie Fluke knows he has the advantage here. And remember, the more this race progresses, Will, the worse de Jong's tires are going to get. And we know what happened in the first hit. Completely off the cliff, and he was overtaken like hell.
That's on board of Yalvaz right now. He's in P number 10. He's actually hunting down Matt Backham. Mike Backham has not turned up to this race here today properly, Jake. I mean, was okay, but in qualifying. I was going to say mediocre, but Ben Cornett might come out of the waters and claim that on ISR TV. But, I mean, Backham, not a great qualifying. Not a great race for him here today. And now he's got Yalvaz right behind him, looking to get his best result of the season.
First person Matt Backham will take it out on is himself, and he will know how poor this performance is from Matt Backham. Should be expecting much better, but Jamie Fluke again, this time even closer than close than he has been previously, and this time he can start closing that gap to 1/10 of a second. He can look down to the inside to make that move, and he still can't get anything alongside. And Mitchell de Jong using the banking of turn number 1 to his advantage. Now here comes the next question. De Jong and Fluke are holding each other up. Peter Berriman is only 4 seconds back, and I have no doubts in my mind that Berriman will go all guns blazing if he's given a chance to get not only the podium, but P2 back again.
Yeah, so Jamie Fluke then remains in that third place. Peter Berriman is on 1 lap fresher tyres. The issue is, though, for both De Jong and Fluke is that they are losing on average 0.6 of a second a lap right now to Martin Kroenke. So now this is no longer a battle for your race lead. This is a battle for second place, a silver medal position. So regardless, now De Jong has got an incentive to fight here, Johnny, because he'll be losing 20 points, of course, to Martin Kroenke. He now does not want to have Jamie Fluke get past him because he'll lose even more in terms of the championship. It's that swings and roundabouts thing. We talked about earlier that, yeah, if Jamie Fluke had that pace lap after lap, he could have actually have gained a little bit in terms of the championship. But now with Jamie Fluke, again, closes down to half a car length and down to the inside. After all this time, what he doing? And going wide, contact. A little bit of sideways movement there. De Jong falls down into third place. Replay, Johnny, talk us through it.
I love that. I love a bit of bumping and rubbing in racing. No penalties needed. Brilliant move from Jamie Fluke. Just a slight little love tap. Mitchell de Jong keeps the car under control, and obviously he's a real-life Red Bull Rallycross driver, so he has that skill to just drift a little bit heading into turn one. But Jamie Fluke, confident move, easy move. It wasn't really that hard of an overtake to pull off. It was just the run out of the final two corners, turn 12 and turn 13, that he needed. Finally got it. And I told you, Will, the more this race ticks down to that lap 71, lap 71 of the event, it'll be easier for Jamie Fluke to pull off the overtake.
Yeah, it was close, but let's have a look again on board of Jamie Fluke. In towards turn one, Tarzan corner. One thing that's worth noting is Peter Berman is now 1.2 behind Mitchell de Jong, Jake.
And he's absolutely charging. He just did a 15 flat over that last time by. He is by far the fastest man of anybody out on circuit. 15.1 that last time by, gap down to 1.1 seconds. And Mitchell de Jong, well, after that incident there with Jamie Fluke, and I believe Fluke there just ran far too deep, de Jong was certainly giving him more than a car's width, and I think Fluke can certainly be given that fault for that incident there, for the contact that was there. De Jong now already, look at the gap, it's down to half a second. It's been 4 corners, it's half a second. Berryman's on a stormer.
Here is Peter Berryman then. Berryman charging hard and dust kicked up there by Mitchell de Jong on the run through turn number 7. But now, will Berryman be able to find a way past? He looks down into Renault corner. Can't do anything. Into Vodafone corner. You can't make any move here unless the driver ahead of you slips up. Down into the Audi S. The only issue I would say that might be, no, in fact, it won't be. So I take the one back. Into the Audi S will be Peter Berryman and Mitchell de Jong. Peter Berryman in 4th place, Mitchell de Jong in 3rd. As they'll head themselves now down to the last 2 corners on track. There'll be 6 laps to go at the line. Peter Berryman, a little bit of a wiggle on the exit of Kimo corner now through Aaron Lyondike. And he is 3 tenths of a second back to Mitchell de Jong. That's exactly the same gap that we had with Jamie Fluke. You need to be 2 tenths back in order to make the pass here, I would say, Johnny.
Yeah, you're right. You need to be a lot closer than that. See, Berryman will end up a lot closer through here, through turns 2 and 3. De Jong is struggling. This race is going to get worse and worse. So right now, 30 points down on Kroenke. Even if de Jong finishes in the top 4, top 5, he will still have the championship lead ahead of Martin Kroenke. But boy, will that deficit by Kroenke be reduced. He'll be right up there contending. Berryman now heading into turn 7. No move. He pulled off a move here early on, remember, on Mitchell de Jong into turn 8. So he's definitely brave enough into Renault. Oh, Berryman almost spun himself out of the event and keeps it together. That is not good for your confidence in these remaining laps.
Well, we've not talked about this one here, Johnny, because Renault corner is notorious for people getting onto the power too early.
Yeah, it's exactly. So Berryman there, we saw it. Exactly that. We're just hearing word as well. Vaz and Jensen had a bit of a coming together. Vaz was on a career-tying best result of P10 and season best for him as well. He's only ever finished a high of P11 in 2018. But those two had a bit of a coming together. Jensen, though, is ahead now, and Vaz down to P11.
Yeah, let's have a look at a replay of this one. Because here's Jensen behind Vaz. So here they are into Vodafone corner. And there's Vaz turn around. And Vaz there, Jake, is not going to be happy with that one.
no, Jensen really did outbrake himself there. Had nowhere to go and not much he could do out of it either. And that one was all down to Marcus Jensen just missing his point. And I think Yao Vaz will be very frustrated with that. He hasn't lost any more positions. It's 15 seconds back to Orozco. But more crucially than that, it's a top 10 that could so easily have been prevented in going down that way. Still, Berryman looks to attack as he heads himself into Vodafone, looking to try and pick that power up off of the exit. And again, struggling to find a way here. And now this is just allowing Josh Rogers the opportunity to come back into this. And all of a sudden, the train starts stacking up behind De Jong. And De Jong is now looking behind, going, how many more carriages do I have to pull over to the line?
I'm going to ask you a question here, Johnny. Do you think that maybe Apex Racing UK, thinking they might have got pole position here, have actually put on more downforce factor? We're going to come back to that one, because here is Peter Berryman. He will look now down to the inside. He should get this one in towards turn number 1, Tarzan corner. He does eventually sneak through, but I'm wondering, maybe Apex Racing UK came with what we like to call a Coanda or the red line package of using as much downforce as you can and not worrying about making the overtakes, because they thought maybe they had pole position in the bag. They didn't, and from there their plan unraveled.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, you have to do it to show. It's like there's people that say, oh, if we did this, we could have won the race. But you didn't. You know, in the end, the person that wins the race is the people that got it right. If Apex did that, well, they've got to show it next round at Indianapolis. A bit of a different track. I'll tell you what, drivers will be delighted to head to a racetrack that's actually almost double the width of most of these corners here at Zandvoort.
Yeah, I agree. I was just having a look as well at Josh Roy. The reason why I'm saying this one, though, Johnny, is because normally Apex have got what I like to call the most trimmed out car, the car that will work best in terms of overtaking drivers. Is this now a strategy shift in terms of Apex? Now they're in the top 10 race after race, they believe they don't need to have that lower downforce spec for overtaking drivers, and they've moved towards the kind of high downforce, Coanda, Redline-esque setups.
You're right, I know what you're saying, but they had that opportunity at Imola, and Berryman had a chance to win, and they didn't get it done. So, but what I see you're saying is they're improving each race. You know, Apex was not this quick at the start of the season. And I feel like by the end of the season, we could perhaps see a Peter Berryman or Jamie Fluke race victory.
Yeah, as we run on board of Jamie Fluke, 8.5 seconds is the gap. A couple of battles going on down. Oh, Kevin Ellis Jr. has had a spin, and that is down at turn number 5, Jake.
Oh, it's a big, big spin as well. He was coming off of the exit of 4, trying to get out of the Hugenholz. He just clips the curb, and he just manages to turn it around. He's lucky he's not hit anything at all. But Kevin Ellis Jr., a lucky, lucky lad that he's not any further worse off for the moment. But keep an eye on Josh Rogers now. He's all over the back of Mitchell de Jong as he gets a big wiggle through the Audi S and sacrifices the run on this lap. 2 laps to go, and de Jong, who at one stage was looking at second place locked up, is now looking at what, P5? If there's contact, who knows?
Yeah, the issue is, though, for Josh Rogers, he now has one more opportunity to make a pass down in towards turn number 1. So for de Jong, all he needs to do now, Johnny, is make sure he saves ERS this entire lap.
Hopefully he'll be all right. Rogers now on the main straight. Oh, he's not even close. He looked close anyway. Maybe those Coanda cars are extremely good in a straight line.
Just don't lie. You look at this one here right now. Josh Rogers, I think he is trying to save that ERS. I think he does want that banzai move. That's why he was so slow. But because of the fresher tyres, he's able to pick up that run through this infield section, through this few lefts and rights, and doing a fantastic job at the moment. Josh Rogers, for all of that issue out of turn number 4, he's right back there at the Audi S wheel. He's got a chance.
He has, but this will be his last chance, realistically, unless he'll make a banzai at the Audi S the next time around, because the start-finish line is early enough here that it can get hard to overtake. Last lap here at Circuit Zandvoort, on board with Rogers. And you see de Jong defending in towards Tarzan corner. De Jong He's going to be able to hold on that position, although Rogers almost runs into the rear of him on the exit of Tarzan corner. They work through 2, now through 3, now through turn number 4. Marcus Jensen is down in P number 11, who's battling out with Yao Vaz. But we'll go back, though, to your driver of Martin Kroenke. At points in this event, you would argue that maybe he was vulnerable. He did a 2-stop strategy here today. Mitchell de Jong did a 1-stopper. At point, Mitchell de Jong looked as though he could have got himself towards race victory. He went on too long. It looked as though Jamie Fluke could have charged for race victory. Jamie Fluke spent too much time stuck behind the driver of Mitchell de Jong, who's now languishing down in P number 4. But for Martin Kroenke, he knows he needed a victory to give himself the opportunity to fight for his 3rd championship. He gets a victory here at Zandvoort. Martin Kroenke wins in the Netherlands.
What a fantastic result, but keep an eye on this one because Rogers has got a fantastic run out of the final corner, but the line will come too early for him. Fluke with a fantastic 2nd, fantastic 3rd for Berryman, who arguably should have won this race outright. He had the pace to do so today, but what a good defense from Mitchell de Jong. Damage limitation. How many times did we hear Gregor Hutu on damage limitation throughout his career? De Jong taking a page out of the Hutu book.
Yep, as Joshua Rogers then will only be able to manage the 5th place here today. Kazuki Umeshima is in 6th place. There are a couple of little battles going on behind. Dion Vergers, you got Tommy Ursgaard. There might be 1 or 2 drivers that tries to make a lunge here on the last couple of corners. On board of Dion Vergers now versus Pash Kyrgyz as they come towards the line. No, nothing's going to happen there. Nothing is going to happen there at all. All your drivers now have come past the stripe, and well, here's the interesting thing, Jake. Martin Kroenke had pole position. He won the race, but we spent most of the race thinking that he wasn't going to.
That says all that you need to know about Martin Kroenke. He did put in a flawless race, but I think that Martin Kroenke won a race where he was 2nd best at today. I think that other drivers in that field were quicker. I thought that Peter Berryman was quicker. Jamie Fluke at times was quicker. Mitchell de Jong on his strategy had that opportunity. And Kroenke, for the unbeatable season that he's had, for the mistakes that he's shown, because he's shown that he's mortal, people are more likely now to think, okay, maybe he doesn't have this shot of winning. Maybe people are more likely to go to the what if something happens on the hope that Martin Kroenke doesn't win. But that's his 4th win of the season, more than anybody else. That is also, again, nobody winning back-to-back, nobody able to put a string of results together. And Martin Kroenke needs Indianapolis more than anybody else in the world now.
Yeah, indeed. So, Johnny, before we get to the race results, worth noting that the attrition rate here today wasn't that big. We had ourselves 19 drivers finish out of 26. And for those drivers that did not finish here today, big points lost. Of course, the biggest one is Red Lions Frank Shawhorse, but also you have the drivers of David Williams, Stephen Michaels, Isaac Price, David Accor, Balas Remniak, and Daniel Arndt Wernsing out.
Yeah, not good for their campaign, and valuable points as well. You want to finish these races and gain some good points, but only a 26-car field today. We want to see all 40, but that's, realistically never going to happen. Back to your leaders, though. I want to say great victory by Martin Kroenke. The last lap battle between de Jong and Rogers. Give Rogers 1 more lap, and he would have made his way past Mitchell de Jong. He had that good of a run out of the final corner. And de Jong just lackluster in terms of traction. I think he missed his line as well heading into the penultimate corner of turn 12. But in the end, 4th and 5th for those two. And I want to see, hopefully, Apex Racing UK keep pounding the rock, keep improving their pace. They were very close to victory here today.
So, you want to race in NASCAR. The road starts here. Introducing the eNASCAR Ignite Series powered by iRacing. This is the gateway for all aspiring 13 to 16-year-olds. Starting June 20th, ignite your dreams of one day racing in the top tiers of NASCAR. Go to www.iracing.com/ignite for full details.
So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up.
4 more kilometers. A big
there we go! This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to ride.
Cronky! Down to the inside of Hoosie's off!
Passenger throws the block, and he will keep him behind him.
My time. None of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down. Hand over my crown. Hand over my heart. I do this for my town. I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time. None of you people can tell me to stop. Turning the track up. I'll never go back down. Hand over my heart. I do this for my town. I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time. None of you people can tell me to stop.
Welcome to post-race coverage then from Zandvoort and the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series won by the driver of Martin Cronke. But, well, Jake, at some point it looked as though it might well have been a different story.
It looks as like it would be on 2 or 3 occasions, but Apex in the end bottled it, I think. Jamie Fluke couldn't make his way past Mitchell de Jong, and that was testament to de Jong's defence more rather than Jamie Fluke's attack. And you look at Peter Berryman, he should have had that win. That should have been under lock and key. He would have had that chance to have battled Martin Cronke, arguably for about 20 laps uncontested towards the end of that event. And honestly, I have no doubt that Berryman would have made that move. He made moves all the way back, getting past Umeshima to finish off in 3rd place. Really, I think Berryman will come away from that taking some positives, but feeling bitterly disappointed he didn't win that one.
Let's look at your top 10 once again up on your screen. Cronke from Fluke, Berryman, de Jong, Rogers, Umeshima, Happler, Backham, Ellis Jr. and Yao Vaz rounds out your top 10. Worth noting in all of that, Johnny, the penalty that was had by Berryman, but also the off-track by Ellis Jr., both of them could have been so much higher.
Certainly so. But that's racing for you. You have to execute. What a lot of top sim racers in the world are not good at is the racecraft part sometimes. They spend so much time testing, and you get into this sort of... It's not a good feeling to have, but you spend so much time on track on your own that you forget about the racecraft and trying to go side by side through a corner with someone. So having the test with your teammates is very important. I think that's what a lot of these drivers need to keep on doing. Sometimes you may just do that, and sometimes you may just make a slight mistake here and then. You know, no human's perfect. I think in motor racing, everyone says huge crash, huge incident. Let's talk about it for 5 minutes straight. But it's supposed to happen. You know, everyone misses shots, everyone turns the ball over, everyone throws interceptions here and then.
Yeah, indeed. So we are waiting for Martin Cronke to have a chat with us. In fact, he's going to do that one right now. Martin Cronke, congratulations on winning this round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. It was close, but you did get yourself victory after qualifying and pole.
Yeah, it was much closer than expected, really. It was really quite frightening, actually. And yeah, pretty much with the penalty that Peter has gotten, yeah, it made things easier. But if he doesn't get the penalty, then yeah, result could look very different.
Well, I mean, you got pole position first, but it did take you both of your laps and a number of attempts to get there. Qualifying overcast, cloudy, windy, not the sort of thing that you were expecting, perhaps?
Yeah, kind of. At least during testing, I think all the sessions that I've done weren't overcast when selecting the dynamic weather, so it looked like it would be either partly cloudy or clear, but in qualifying it was overcast, which kind of yeah, mixed things up a little bit with how the setup worked. But yeah, the setup was very difficult to drive anyway, and in the first lap it just happened to be a lap where a couple of mistakes creeped in, and yeah, it's just extremely hard to nail a lap here.
Yeah, we saw you very almost got pole position that first lap, but you ended up having what would I like to call oversteer on the exit of Aralindite corner. We saw you, glancing on that wheel. But you did get yourself pole position. You did then end up getting yourself at the front of this event. But one thing that people talked about quite often was how this can be a track that's difficult to overtake at. And because of that, people might go off strategy. Were you worried about that? And did you have a game plan stuck in your head coming to the grid?
I was worried about it, but the plan originally was to go for a two-stopper. That seemed to be the quickest option, but it's just, you have to be prepared to pit relatively early with a two-stopper and do sort of the first and second pit stop unnecessarily early just to be covered if someone starts to, yeah, trying with undercuts and whatnot. And even on slightly older tires, it's probably, yeah, pretty much impossible to get past, really.
You ended up having to overtake your teammate at one point, so being overtaken by your teammate at one point, even. I'd say that one back. But also, you had yourself the issue of potentially an Apex Racing UK machine coming up behind you. Do you think that had Fluke gotten past De Jong earlier, he might have given you a run for your money?
Potentially, yeah. Their speed, especially in the second and third stint on lower fuel, seemed incredibly quick, quicker than what I could have done in best case scenario. So that was a worry, yeah.
But you do get a victory, of course. As we said, every point matters from here on in. Next time out, it will be Indianapolis. It's a track that you've raced on many a time, except for one, but we won't talk about that one. It's a track also that has a fantastic passing opportunity into turn number one, but also a less talked about overtaking opportunity on the exit of the Holman straightaway. What's your thoughts heading into that round?
To be honest, not really that many thoughts about it at this point. It should be a decent race again. There should be overtaking possibilities, much more than at Zandvoort at least. And yeah, looking forward to it.
Well, before I let you go, Martin, who do you want to give a shout out to from your team?
First of all, my teammates. They had to do, unfortunately, this time they had to do pretty much all the setup work alone, since I wasn't really able to do much until yesterday. So yeah, huge shout out to those, especially Mac and Mitchell, who did the majority of the setup work. Then also thanks to the spotters who did the strategy today. That was very helpful to have someone look at that and do the right decision for you. And then of course also a huge thanks to our sponsors, first of all to Virtual Racing School, to Huizinkweld, Fitech, to Endron Design, and also to you guys.
And before we let you go, actually, one more question. Formula Student this year, I know you've been a part of that one. The UK Formula Student took place last weekend. How's it been going in German Formula Students?
Well, I don't really want to talk about that at this point. I'll let you know in private at some point.
No, Martin Kroenke, ladies and gentlemen, here on RaceSpot TV and the iRacing eSports Network. Second place, Jamie Fluke with Jake Sparry.
Jamie, it looked for all the world throughout that event that you had the pace in the final stages to go and chase down Martin Kroenke. You were putting in some fantastic lap times, 14.7s, 14.9s. In the end, you found a brick wall, and that brick wall was Mitchell de Jong. How do you feel overtaking was here today, knowing that you had to really put in maybe 5, 7, 9 laps worth of effort just to make one position?
Yeah, it was a little bit frustrating, to be perfectly honest. I knew I was catching Martin pretty quickly and thought, well, the quicker I can get by Mitchell, the better my chances for potentially winning the race would be. But yeah, it's just I was really struggling to get a good run out of the final corner, and then whenever it did come time to making the move, I got it slightly wrong. Hit him. I'll take the blame for that. That's all on me. But yeah, really happy to get P2. It's good to have a solid run out of race, having qualified well for once. So yeah, pretty pleased.
We're starting to see now the development of Apex Racing UK and the way that they are starting to build those building blocks up, and they're starting to become consistent podiums, looking at pole positions. Surely it's only a matter of time now, maybe at the end of this season, the start of next season, we start talking about Apex Racing UK as race winners.
I'd like to think so. Like we're inching closer and closer to Martin, Mitchell, Mac, and the other guys at Coanda. It's been a long slog, really, to try and get to this point, so we just need to keep pushing and hopefully make that last little step onto the top step of the podium.
Indianapolis coming up next in the championship, and Indianapolis certainly a circuit that should be one that you have your eye circled on, certainly one that helps in terms of top speed, which traditionally we see Apex looking very good at. But in terms of what you're looking at in terms of a strategy front, is it going to be something that you're looking to maybe change over, maybe because of the higher grid positions that we're seeing, maybe a different change in philosophy to those top speeds?
To be honest, I think we'll just try and run the car as quick as we can, and wherever we put it on the grid, we put it on the grid. There's not much point in having a car that's good through the corners and you can't overtake anyone. But yeah, we'll sort of see once we get down to practice for it.
Well, you're certainly going to see. But before we let you go, any shout-outs or sponsors?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to thank the team for all the hard work that we put in over the last, probably year or so, just to even get up to this point. Pretty happy with that. I'd like to thank JCL, Simputers, Leo Bodner, and SDK Gaming.
No worries at all. Jamie Fluke, a fantastic second place position there, and Will, certainly one of those drives, his first podium as well, that he will be remembering for a very long time.
Yeah, on one hand there, Johnny, it was very good, him getting that podium, first podium in the World Championship Series. On the other hand, he's still got to be thinking, what if I got past Young earlier?
I mean, definitely. But, and he didn't. So at the end of the day, you can't, what if, what that, if you didn't get it done, then you got to improve the pace, you got to improve the strategy, maybe you need to pit earlier. Penalties always come into play as well. That's what happened to Peter Berryman, who we'll be speaking to soon. But for Jamie Fluke, I have to say, moral of the story is Apex Racing with improved pace and more and all look like a great force out there, and the second best team right now in the World Championship. I'm liking what I'm seeing from these guys. They just got to get the other guys down from the back end of the order to climb. And it would have been good to see with how the setups developed and how these drivers have improved. Would have been good to see Alex Simpson and Michael Dinkel still racing out there.
Indeed. So, well, we have got third place Peter Berryman here. Of course, he had the 18.9 second pit stop that cost him a shot at victory, because otherwise, Johnny, we could have been having a very different conversation right now. Over to you.
Yeah, definitely. Peter Berryman, first of all, mate, surely a race win slipped away there with the stop-go penalty.
Yeah, 100% gone. I'm pretty confident that I would have won the race today. So, yeah, it's probably the most disappointing third I'll ever have.
I have to say, though, we're just chatting behind the scenes, and I said, look at the bright side. This is the first time that you guys legitimately should have won the race. I know that sounds bitter, but at Imola, it was like, yeah, you held the race lead for quite a while, but eventually Coanda were the quicker drivers. And then right now we said, oh, wait a second, today, Apex could have really been the quickest team if had you kept it together.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think we were the quickest cars on track anyways, well, from my point of view, so... Yeah, I think Imola would have been a steal, a bit of a miracle to hold that win, whereas today I think we legitimately deserved the win. So, yeah, definitely loads of positives to take out of that for sure. So, yeah, silly mistakes, just need to cut them out, but what can you do, I guess? That's racing.
Yeah, 4 third places for you in a row as well. Not that I like to look into stats too much. Nobody laughed, Will. Probably
tell me more.
But, I have to say, though, as I said, your pace has improved and everything. Going to Indianapolis, though, next round, is that a track that Apex have had some luck in the past as well for you guys?
Last time I was at Indianapolis, I think we completely messed up setup-wise. I mean, I think I skipped last year, so
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident sitting here now without driving a lap that we'll be fighting for the win there as well. So, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that.
And one more question, by the way. Behind the scenes, Jamie's pace has also improved. I haven't seen Jamie this quick. Is this set up again for you guys, or is it driver skill? What's going on in Apex behind the scenes? Is it that Bugs Bunny special stuff from Space Jam?
If I'm honest, we're all very, very close in pace, I think, in practice. I mean, if you could see the stats in practice, you'd be very surprised, I think, at some of the results that the likes of Jamie and Kevin get. So I think it's just on the day, executing it, and that's really it. I mean, you've seen today, Jamie done the job and gets a P2 out of it. So, but we're definitely working very, very hard. We've made a lot of serious setup improvements for sure. I think I'd judge probably about half a second worth of pace we found over the year so far. So, yeah, definitely looking good for the next few races to come.
And anything else as well? You want to say thank you to the team, because you guys are a hard-working group over there at Apex.
Yeah, obviously thanks to the guys. I'd like to thank my spotter, Scott Newton. He's done a wonder job today. I think I would have been a bit stuck without him, so yeah, big thanks to him. The sponsors, JCL, Simputers, Leo Bodner, SDK Gaming, and of course yourselves for the broadcast. Thanks very much.
There you go, Will. Peter Berryman, another third place, 4 in a row. His name right now. Hopefully next time at Indianapolis, it's an improved second position, or that race win that Apex Racing UK have been looming. The first ever win for the team.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one in a moment's time, actually, because Indianapolis is a track that will be very interesting when you consider Apex in years previous compared to Apex today. However, we have got Jake Sperry stood by with Josh Rogers, who came home in 5th.
Josh, you found an iron wall, the same iron wall that Peter Berryman found, the same iron wall that Jamie Fluke found, and that iron wall was Mitchell de Jong.
Yeah, absolutely. Make a little bit of a battle at the end of there. Fortunately, couldn't get the job done, but congrats to Mitch for pulling off that one-stop strategy. That would have been something that I mean, I know I wouldn't have even wanted to touch with a 10-foot pole. So yeah, congrats.
Well, certainly not wanting to touch the one-stop, but for you today, certainly a lot of pace in the early going. A small mistake which allowed Jamie Fluke the opportunity to go through. Do you feel, well, sorry, Peter Berryman actually to go through. Do you feel that today you had maybe great pace, but a lot of drivers around you had also very similar great pace, and as such you weren't given as much of an opportunity to shine as you probably would have done, even though it was still a very good P5 performance for Burst?
I think, we definitely had pace today. I think, yeah, like a few errors on my part, but ultimately, the gap to Martin at the end was a lot less than what it has been in races past. So I think it's positive to take out of here. I think we've definitely found a little bit of what we're searching for. Still some more, but that's something we can go back to the drawing board and have a look and try and find out some more.
With your teammate doing a 3-stop and heading over to Indianapolis in a few weeks' time, is it a tyres issue that we're looking at here at Burst?
Yeah, I think unfortunately it is at the moment. I think this round we managed to improve our tyre wear a little bit, which is what we're looking for, but it gets to a point where we kind of hit a cliff, and unfortunately that's not quite the end of the stint. So yeah, look, we'll go back to the drawing board and find some more things, and I'm sure we'll come back fighting and hopefully try to be able to stick a little bit closer to the guys at Indy.
Well, shout out sponsors. Who gets it done?
Yeah, just a massive thanks to Burst as always. Also Marcus and Pash for all the work they've done this week. Made life easy. But yeah, thanks to you guys for the broadcast, and yeah.
No worries at all. Josh Rogers maybe not feeling too brilliant after that result, Will, but a very, very revealing interview.
It is indeed there for the driver of Josh Rogers. Let's actually have a quick chat about the next round of the championship. First of you here, Jake. Because in years previous, Apex Racing UK were, along with Inex Racing, the fastest team in a straight line at Indy. We talked about it year in, year out. This year, I'm not going to be quite sure that's going to be the case.
I'm not either. And the reason why I'm not either is because we saw what happened last time we were at Indianapolis. It was actually a higher downforce pack that managed to get itself over to the line with a victory. It happened because that infield section is so important, and it becomes more important with higher tyre wear, because you look at that tyre wear, which is now a lot more excessive than it was in previous years. If you're not getting the traction through the mid-speed corners and the slow middle sector of the lap, then how on earth are you supposed to use all of that power when it comes to the banking of IndyCar Turn 1? And how are you supposed to use it on the brakes into F1 Turn number 1? You can't is the answer. So I think it's going to be a very difficult challenge. I wouldn't be surprised to see an outside team actually taking the top speed line. I wouldn't be surprised if, say, Radicals decided to go for it, or Orion went for it. It's so fascinating heading to Indy. Not only that, gap in the championship without drops is now 11 points between De Jong and Kroenke.
Yeah, indeed. And that's going to be a big factor as we head into the next round of the championship, Johnny. As we said before, every point from now on matters. And that means that the Coanda drivers, especially, they cannot be aggressive. They've got to be conservative. And that might open the door to other teams getting victories, because if Coanda end up third and fourth, for example, they're still in their own battle, but they're not losing as many points as they would do compared to if they came 1 and 2. So it's a weird one right now for Kroenke and for De Jong. They don't want to necessarily, of course they want to win the races, but they don't as a team necessarily want to win every event 1 and 2, because that will make them distort themselves in terms of the championship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think. Look, at the end of the day, for the team, you want 1s and 2s. I don't really think Coanda put individuals first in that kind of sense. I'm not saying they're so unselfish to the point where it's like, I'm going to sacrifice a whole championship for my teammate. But they do respect each other as a group. So for those guys, they'll figure it out. The championship will go down to the wire, and whoever will deserve it will end up getting it. Of course, there's no ifs or buts, or who happened or what happened here. This could have happened, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't matter in motor racing, you know. You need to just win the races that you can, finish 1 and 2. So you don't need to think about that. The thing I want to really look forward to for Indianapolis is Gregor Hutu returning to the series, hopefully. He's a driver who I feel today we lacked. You know, could he have won the race today? Would he have had the pace around Zandvoort? He's a driver, he's known this circuit for years and years upon iRacing. So looking forward to that at Indianapolis. The circuit itself at Indy, one of my favorite circuits. I never thought I'd ever say this ever on a broadcast, but literally is one of my favorite circuits. And just the long straight, the overtaking zone, the difficulties of that Sector 1, the setup challenges you have with the anti-roll bar and the tight corners, and then the long run down all the way from the final corner through what is Turn 1, isn't it, in Indianapolis, Will? You're going backwards through the racetrack. Love the circuit. Looking forward to the race.
Jake, of course, we've got more racing going on this weekend. You and I are going to be doing another 7, maybe 8 hours worth of coverage. Of course, we've got the 24 hours of Spa. Tomorrow, we'll be taking over breakfast with race spots or something along the lines of that. But GT3 only. So it's a very different race what we used to in the 24 hours of Spa.
It is, but it was the most entertaining race out of the 4 big 24-hour races that happened in 2017, and oddly enough it was the one that wasn't broadcasted, because it was the one where Team Redline crashed out, Pure Racing Team crashed out in 2 laps, I think Vendaval went off, a lot of teams that could have won that didn't, and it left Dream Factory versus RSO, and RSO came out of the woodworks with some great strategy and came out and won the event. It's the one race where I think I can honestly say anybody has an opportunity of winning, but I will also say this, Will, it is also the only race you can see in the world where drivers will go from pro license to D license with the amount of off tracks they'll have.
Unless you're Coanda, right?
No. All teams are doing it.
I mean, let's not forget the first time there's a 24-hour race at Spa, Coanda, or Martin Kroenke in particular, I believe had 1 incident point. Now, I know he's still here in the channel, so he might actually clarify that one for us. but I believe that Martin Kroenke had one incident point in these entire set of stints. But Johnny, you are right. Jake is right, even, that you've got to be careful because this is one race in a bigger picture of a lot of people on their iRacing careers. You don't want to throw it all away just to get one victory and end up not disqualifying yourself, but putting yourself out of contention to run in other series. No, exactly, but you got to follow your passion, you know, at the same time. So that all matters in the end. Also, by the way, can we also say something too? We forgot Yao Vaz's P10. I was just looking into that while everything was going on. Ties his career best result, and he had a clash with Marcus Jensen on the final lap, I believe. That's something that we didn't get caught in the coverage just because we're too busy following all the battles with Rogers and De Jong. But credit to Yao Vaz on a brilliant result there. Matches his career high, like we said, and season best for him in that Orion race team car. Before we go off air, let's have a quick look at what's going on over in Spa.
And if this theme continues, they could bring themselves back onto that final step.
They can bring, this is for sure that this battle has been really interesting because now with Theo Martin eSports out of the running for this race pretty much, this is the battle for what could be the final step on the podium because the pace that Pure Racing team have been having right now pretty much, you can say that those two positions, P1, P2, they are pretty much locked out unless something major happens. So let's not discard that out because if it happened to Theo Martin eSports, well, it can happen to anybody. Well, that's what's going on. Sorry about that. That is what was going on in terms of the, not Blanc Pun, even the 24 Hours of Spa here on RaceSport TV, on V8 Online and the iRacing Esports Network. But that's all we got time for here tonight from the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Before we go, shout out, of course, to Isman Balau, TrackCams22.com, Andreas Warner and One Design for our overlay design, development by Simon Grossman at Pneuman.com, and live timing from Nick Thyssen for RaceSport TV, live timing and scoring. That is all we got time for this round of the championship, but there is still more rounds to go. Strike Zandvoort off. We'll see you in 5-ish weeks over at Indianapolis for the 10th round of the championship. The iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series going back home again to Indiana. We'll see you there on RaceSport TV and on the iRacing Esports Network. From Jake Sparry and Jonathan Simone, I'm Will Vincent. Good night from Zandvoort.